Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed episode number 211. I'm not sure if this is a podcast that dreamt it was a frog or a frog that dreamt it was a podcast. I'm Keith, Ribbit.
I'm Sean, Ribbit.
I'm Glenn. I'm a man, I'm pretty sure.
I might be a frog.
Maybe I'm dreaming of you guys.
Are you
You're frogs.
Are you a man or are you a frog of a man?
I'm a Muppet of a man.
I'm a very manly Muppet. How are you guys?
I was thinking of that movie the other day. I wanted to.
Who's a frog? I'm confused.
I don't know.
Does that mean we're
I
French?
have to wake up. I'd hope not. And then we'd be dinner.
Are we doing Dreamception again?
Dreamception. It's only fitting
Christmasception.
after. Yes. Did you guys have a good week?
Yep.
Does that mean I'm a frog with a dream crab on my face?
Or are you a person with a dream crab on your face thinking you're a frog?
Oh, my God.
Do you have the
or are you a man with a frog crab on your face?
Overwhelming hunger for flies?
According to Phil, we still look like Muppets. So.
Hi, Kermit the Frog.
Oh, wait, is that this week's feedback? Did I get ahead of myself?
You time traveled.
Spoilers!
I'm fine sounding like a Muppet.
You know who should be a guest commentator, correspondent for Traveling the Vortex? Kermit.
Kermit the Frog.
Absolutely.
Why haven't we reached out to Kermit?
Because then we could use the...
Finally, I do it all the time. We'd have to get a package deal, though. In addition to Kermit doing the Frog on the Street reports, we'd have to get the Muppet News guy to come in and give us the...
Here's a Muppet News Flash.
Yeah. Get on that, Glenn.
I'll make some calls.
Right?
We can get them over Skype, right?
Well, you guys are in the news. You know these people. You've been at symposiums
Welcome
and
to
stuff
Sean's
together.
mind.
Well, we are an ABC affiliates.
Wow.
See? How hard is this? You're an ABC affiliate.
You're in the news. It's Muppet News, Sesame Street News. It's all related, right?
You guys practically work for Disney anyway.
Oh, dear.
And Brian Williams is in the studio over.
Yeah.
And their headquarters is in New York, which means it's just a jump and a skip from Sesame Street. I know that New York's not that big. And come on.
Indeed.
Make a phone call.
Indeed. Brian, hey, could you run down to Sesame Street? We're going to need...
We need
Kermit.
for a side project.
Kermit's been on Sesame Street for a long time. I think because of the Disney deal. Can't be used. He's not a property of Children's Television Network or Muppet.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
I guess an intellectual property.
Pretty sure we went over this last time we brought up the Kermit Muppet
Did
News
we?
Flash. Yeah.
It's all new to me.
Who knows how long ago that was, though? So
You know what I'm really looking. You know what I'm looking forward to getting on the schedule is Kinda and Snake Dance, because I cannot wait to refresh my memory on those. It's been so long since we watched them.
yeah.
It'll all be new to me. Every week I prepare I have little notes, and I come and I sit down at this table and look open, and the first note is, you're part of a Doctor Who podcast.
Sean's got memento going on.
That's early Alzheimer's, I think. I told you guys earlier I lost my iPad.
We should do this podcast
again.
backwards. So that, we'll do it from the end to the...
Yeah.
Can you edit it that way?
Kind of like memento. And, I could. It'd be out next week, but...
In just 5-minute chunks.
Which, sometimes that's the case anyway.
We should totally do that. We should totally do a podcast where we start at the end and give the schedule, and then talk about why we didn't like something, and then launch into a review of something.
Sean, we're pretty abusive to our listeners the way it is. I don't think we need to do that.
Do we have anything coming up that we could pair that up with? That'd be kind of a cool gimmick.
Too bad we missed that opportunity with Flip Flop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Or even last week with the...
Boy, we wish we were clever.
We're almost too clever.
A week late clever.
A week? We're
2 weeks late.
a
Clever.
couple weeks late. We don't even know what week it is now. We had those two shows bunched up against each other. So we're running together. Is it January yet?
It is January.
I watched some movies.
What'd you watch?
Well, the first one I watched, my first, I talked about doing Netflix roulette.
Oh, yes.
And my first one was a winner. I fired up Netflix and I did a little close my eyes, and I even went to suggestions for Glenn. I mixed it up this week instead of doing genre. My first outing out.
Could have been TV then.
I went, yeah. Well, if I hadn't landed on a television, I would have done it again. I went, and the first one I landed on, I think, was The Reluctant Dragon, which I've seen, and I've marked that scene in my Netflix, so it shouldn't be showing up as suggestions for Glenn.
That doesn't always necessarily.
But I've seen it. In fact, I've even seen it recently. So and the first one that popped up was In a World.
Oh, that's in my queue.
It's so good.
So good. And nothing like I expected. Not even having seen the trailer before.
Even after my review?
Nothing. Even after your review.
That I said it was nothing like I expected.
Did
you review that?
It was he's saying
on the show?
Before it went on Netflix. I found it at the library.
Okay.
And then it came on Netflix, and I reminded you guys, hey, you guys need to go see this.
Steel Trap. Steel Trap.
So it's a rusted shut steel trap.
Steel colander.
Nothing's getting in there.
Nothing's
Steel
getting in there.
sieve. It's really good.
I tend to like Lake Bill to begin with because I liked her on Boston Legal a lot.
Oh, I forgot she was on that.
Yeah.
No,
and then I haven't watched Surface.
What's Surface?
It's on Netflix too. It was
that one season TV show.
Yeah,
that
it was
didn't
like
end.
the same year that it was the NBC Alien Invasion show, as opposed to the ABC version of Invasion.
I do remember that, yeah.
And both only lasted 1 year. Surface was the one that was underwater mostly.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I'm tempted to watch it just because she's in it.
She's good. I like her. She's real quirky. I like. She kind of reminds me of. In this particular movie, she reminds me of Zooey Deschanel a little bit. Just that kind of.
I could see that a little bit.
Maybe not New Girl, but some of the movies that Zoe's done.
Yeah.
But just kind of that character she plays. I don't think I recognized anybody else in the movie, but Oblender.
Dimitri Martin. Do you recognize him?
Oh yeah,
the quasi-romantic guy.
I did know him. He's on some show on NBC now.
Yeah, his one didn't last very long.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's I like the whole idea of this competing to be the next. Help me with his name, Sean. The guy that did In a World.
Don. Is it Don LaFontaine or is it
Fontaine?
Yeah.
Fontaine?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say other than it was a great movie.
It's really enjoyable.
Is it something that people who maybe were not into film as much as we are would enjoy?
I think it helps.
Like, would your average frog on the street kind of go?
I think it helps, but it's written really well, and it's written so well. And everybody knows Don Fontaine. So, I mean, everybody knows that voice. Everybody knows that trailer voice, and I think anybody could associate with it. But I think it helps if you're a movie fan or a movie buff. It's certainly, I mean, it's a lot of the inner Hollywood workings, but not. It's like kind of this offshoot of inner Hollywood workings because it's just the voiceover area of Hollywood. In fact, their rewards it killed me. I mean, it was just like their awards is like completely separate from everything else.
And in a small little room.
Because it's not even voiceover. It's just voiceover trailer work, right? It's completely.
Well, no, because she get some jobs for.
She was doing voice coaching. And stuff.
She did voice coaching.
But it's not like anime.
And she was coaching. She was coaching Eva Longoria because her. What accent was she supposed to be doing?
I think she was supposed to be doing
Cockney.
Yeah.
And apparently they'd shot this movie with Eva Longoria. But her Cockney was horrible, so they were having ADR everything. They had Eva come in, and she was coaching her in order to.
And the amount of voices like Belle can do is really impressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it made me wonder why we don't have any female voiceover, trailer voiceover.
I blame Dawn. Because once you go in a world, that's kind of the thing. Now.
She's got this.
I think there's a lot of people you could recognize in it.
She's got this really nice, warm.
She does a really good,
alto voice that she does for her voiceovers. I totally buy it.
I mean, she does her own twist on the Don LaFontaine.
Yeah, but they all do, except for what's his name, her dad. He does his is really similar.
Yeah, but they all kind of take a page out of his book when trying to do their voiceover.
Agreed.
Even her. So,
but even more so. I mean, it's a comedy and it's fun, but there's a lot of great relationship drama.
Yeah, the stuff with Rob Corddry. Was really powerful stuff.
And,
I thought
it just. Oh, I forgot about him too. I like him.
And his wife is was on Trophy Wife.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah. I've never seen that. So, yeah, it's good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was much pleased for my first outing with my roulette, and then I found out that there's actually a website called Netflix Roulette.
It does it for you.
You can do it. You can eliminate shows altogether, and you just click the button, and it pops the movie up, and so that's what I did for my next one, which was
not such a
Ambush in Dark Canyon, which was a Western that was put out in 2012, and it stars. It actually stars, although he's on IMDb, he's kind of buried in the cast list, which I was kind of surprised. Hang on, I'm bringing this up because I had some notes.
Sometimes IMDb goes in order of appearance.
Yeah, that might be the case because he doesn't come along. He's in a couple of flashback sequences because the story is about this newspaper in the 1930s that's doing a story about this. Well, the reporter that's assigned to it, essentially, he seems to be kind of this flaky guy who. Hang on a second. Oh, not the store came up. He's this guy that does. He's late to work all the time. He kind of doesn't take his job very seriously, but he's a really good writer from the impression they give.
Oh, my life story.
But his editor ends up getting really mad and calls him to his office and basically threatens to fire him. But he says, "I won't fire you if you do this one job for me." And the idea is that he has to go out and interview this guy who was supposedly the last deputy that was tracking down this guy, this U.S. Marshal that was involved in a bank robbery and was sent to prison and escaped and ended up being killed in a shootout was the idea of it. And Duke Donovan was the name of the marshal. And so he goes to this guy's house, and a little coercing goes through talking to him, but he starts to recount the story. So then that sets back up it's like in the mid to late 1800s. Actually, I think it was after slavery, so it was probably 1860s, 1870s. That's probably even later than that. Probably around just before the turn of the century. And anyway, there was this marshal, and he was in this botched bank robbery, and he was sent to prison, and found out that the guy that led the gang that he was sort of quasi a part of. What happened was the bank was being robbed, and he didn't want anybody to be hurt, or killed, and it goes sour, and the one guy kills the other guy. They ended up capturing the marshal, Duke Donovan, and he goes to prison. He ends up escaping prison with the help of Ernie Hudson, who's in the film. And
is that who was buried?
Because he finds
this suddenly got a lot better.
Because he finds out that his wife, who's played by Sidney Penny, if you don't know who she is, she was the little girl in Pale Rider. His wife is her life's in danger. So essentially, he escapes from prison and goes to save her. Unfortunately, doesn't make it there in time, and then he tracks down the guys that killed him, and it goes from there. And there's a lot of. I think you should see it. I'll say right now, it was a good movie. I like Western, so I'm a little biased. It's an independent film,
unless it's a Town Called Mercy.
It's an independent film, and it's not. I don't even think it went to the theaters. I think it probably ended up going to direct-to-video. But the guy that plays Duke Donovan is actually Kix Brooks, which country music fans will know him as the other half of Brooks and Dunn, one of the halves of Brooks and Dunn. And he's done some acting for this film company that produced this, and they actually asked him if he would do a leading role, and he's reluctantly said yes. And he really does a really good job in this, acting-wise. But another name that you might be a little familiar with is Don Swayze, who was Patrick Swayze's younger brother. He's in this. It was good. It was interesting. It wasn't a turkey for me, my second roulette film. But I quite enjoyed it. And I think if you like Westerns and you get, you get in the mood to watch a Western, it's not one that would sour you. It's not one that you would hate. And it's only about an hour and 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And
that's not too bad.
It feels like a quick watch. It really clipped along. The story's interesting, and the outcome actually, I kind of predicted what the finale or what the outcome was going to be, but that being said, it was still enjoyable getting to that point. So that was another one. And then last night, I guess I'm going to do them all here. Last night, we rented Maze Runner.
Oh, how was it?
It's good. It's good. I read the book last summer, I believe it was, and there's some things that drastically diverge from the book, and there's something, and for the most part, the intent in the story is still there. Some of the things that I wondered how they were going to do in the film, they just didn't do in the film. And
that solves that problem.
The villain in this, well, I should say kind of a sub-villain, because without giving too much away, there's another villain, but the villain in this, or the monsters in this, are called Reavers, and the book does the Reavers so much better than the movie did. Although if I hadn't read the book, I'd have gone, oh, those are really cool. That's a really neat original idea, except for they were anthropomorphized. Well, they're anthropomorphized, but they were borrowed from scorpions. I mean, there was the idea came from they were just these giant monstrous scorpions, but was done well enough that if I hadn't read the book and liked the Reavers in the book better, this would have been good. I mean, I would have gone, oh, that's a really cool, clever design. But yeah, overall good movie. It's again not a lot of familiar people, but
Joe Judd's in it, right?
Yeah, was that Sam from what's the
Love Actually?
Love Actually, yeah.
He's in I think it was Joe Judd was his name.
I can't
and
remember.
Game of Thrones.
He's in Game of Thrones as well. He was in it, yeah. And then the gal that played Effie on Skins, the first 3 seasons of Skins, is the girl in it. There was a couple other faces that I recognized, but I couldn't tell you who they were. But yeah, overall it was good. It doesn't. It's like I say, it strays from the book a bit, but everything, the heart of the story, the central point of the story is still there. And
do you know that guy's Ferb? The guy from
yeah,
Game
I
of
did
Thrones?
know that. I did know he was Ferb. He's the voice of Ferb, which Ferb barely speaks. So probably over the course of 5 seasons that they've done Phineas and Ferb, he's probably had 80 words total. I mean, he says one thing or 2 things in every episode. But yeah, I did know that he was Ferb. Yeah, we quite enjoyed it. Holly and Caitlin really liked it. Of course, as it ends, you guys know that it's a book series. So as it ends, they go, "Oh, this is a series. I hope we get another movie." So,
I haven't heard if they're actually going to make one.
No, I haven't heard how well it did. Although it's got a 63 or 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it got good critical reviews anyway.
That's usually good enough to get somebody interested.
I think Moral Instruments got worse and worse box office, and they're still making a sequel.
It's usually between critic ratings and box office numbers, so it depends on how well it did too. But
yeah,
they really need to do another film because it does really kind of leave you hanging as to what happens next. So yeah, so we enjoyed that. That's it so far. So we're only 2 weeks into the new year, and I've already watched 3 films.
Mel and I watched From Up on Poppy Hill, which is Studio Ghibli.
Could you see it from there?
I could not. One of the...
Did you inhale the poppies and pass out?
It's a Japanese animated film, but it's...
The Wizard of Oz?
Shut you. Studio Ghibli does all the...
Anime
My Neighbor Totoro and that stuff.
The anime stuff that Disney has released here domestically.
Yeah.
Purely on the strength of John Lasseter, who is such a huge fan.
When they get the audio or the American actors of higher caliber to do the voices.
Yeah, and again, that's all from John Lasseter, who went to Disney that said you need to do something because this stuff's all great and it's what we all are inspired by, and it needs to have an American audience. And so Disney went and contacted them and signed a deal. And
we're talking Ponyo and Howl's Moving Castle.
And and that whole thing.
Kiki's
Delivery Service and many of them.
Princess Mononoke?
Princess Mononoke is one of them. Spirited Away. Yeah. But this one is not one that I was totally familiar with. We just happened to get one in. Whoa, cool! I'm going to pounce on that while I can, because I can rent it. And I should have just bought it outright because it was beautiful. It was such a good movie. And I know you have this anti-anime thing, but you really should start getting into the Studio Ghibli stuff.
I liked Howl's Moving Castle, and what was the other one I saw? Just recently, came out last year. Yeah.
Last year would have been, was it Secret World of Ariete?
That's it, Secret World of Ariete. Yeah.
They really,
I liked those.
They really kind of combine. I mean, yes, there's that element of anime styling to it, but it's really almost more of a Disney movie. They fit so well within the Disney family of stuff because of the tonal qualities of it. And what I love about them is that they're frequently not big epic Aladdin, or the Lion King story of the king. They're just little stories about little people, and Secret World of Ariete, literally. But they're just and this particular one is about Umi, who's a 16-year-old student, and she meets a boy and kind of starts to fall for him, and it's just kind of their little relationship story, and it's an hour and a half, and it was a beautiful story, and I love the fact that these are filled with scenes that would never make it into an animated story. She's getting breakfast ready for the group, so she's got the rice, and they're just setting plates out and doing this cool thing, and it's really not important for anything other than for you to get to know her regiment of how her day goes. But that's the kind of thing that any American animation company would go, we're not animating that. It's not important. Cut that out. And it's just the fact that they're going through this. And I love the fact that it's traditional animation. That to me is just such a huge draw. But it was just this beautiful, sweet little story. And, it went on. And then they had a little bit of drama that came into their lives. And there's a clubhouse on campus that is in danger of being tore down. And they have to try and rescue it. And it's just this sweet little story. And Mel and I just fell in love with it. It was just beautiful. So I can't recommend that one highly enough. It's fantastic. It's just great.
That one sounds like it might be more up my alley too.
I mean, Howl's Moving Castle so far has far and away been my favorite because I love the sense of whimsy and magic and things that are going on. This is just a plain little story. It's set in Yokohama in like 1964, so it's post Korean War, and everybody's gearing up for the Olympics. So there's that kind of sense in Japan that we're gonna erase everything that ever happened in our history because the Olympics are coming and we're going to be this new society. And
it's Japan over and over again.
Well, that's what the students were kind of rallying against. Is why are you demolishing this classic building because of that? And so that's kind of where that dichotomy comes from. But it was just a fantastic little story. It was awesome.
I read a thing about what's the I'm so bad with names and of things, but where samurai used to disembowel themselves, with the
seppuku.
Swords. That's it.
Yeah,
I read a thing. Did you see that on Iowa?
Yeah, I did see it.
That was
why
very
it stopped
interesting.
happening. Yeah,
I didn't read it, but I saw it.
Oh, it was so interesting, and of course, then that got me looking at a lot of other Japanese stuff and just how they've continued to try to modernize their society, and they've always got this resistance from traditionalists, and sounds like another situation there. Yeah. So the only reason I brought that up.
It was beautiful. I cannot recommend it enough. It was phenomenal.
You watch anything else?
And a great voice cast. Anton Yelton was in it, and I mean, it was one of those that you look at it and there was just this block of names, and Jamie Lee Curtis and Anton Yelton and blah blah, bump all the way down the list. And I went, wow, there's a ton of people. And a lot of them were maybe only in for like 3 lines.
Sure.
But it kind of shows the clout that
I think that's
when Disney calls, you come running. Go, yes.
Well, I think actors and actresses are really chomping at the bit, not just to do Disney films, but to do.
And especially if it's quick and easy one-day thing, and they get paid for it. Why not?
Bo Bridges was in it.
Well, and Disney can. I mean, they pay money for distribution, and they pay money for revoicing, and that's all they have to pay. And they're going to make all of the domestic back from it, so they're able to pay the actors a little more for lesser studio time.
Yeah.
So they're able to get those big names in there.
Yeah. Just really illustrated how much I like Anton Yelton
right now. And they're making gajillions of dollars. Yeah. And the parks are all doing well, and the Disney Channel's doing well. And
I was kind of surprised Big Hero 6 didn't win the Golden Globe for Best Animated.
How to Train Your Dragon 2.
I guess I got to watch those movies now.
If you need to borrow How to Train Your Dragon 2, I've got that. Have you seen the first one?
parts of it. I think I've seen enough of it to say I've seen the film. Because
no, you need to sit down and watch it.
Well, I
once.
do, but I mean, I know the story.
Yeah.
I know, it's good. It's enjoyable. But one day I'd like to sit and watch it.
2 is even better. Let me know when you want them. I'll bring them for you. Did you watch anything else?
Oh, yeah, we watched The Private Eyes with
Don Knotts
and Tim Conway. Yeah.
I used to love that. That was another HBO staple, speaking of which.
I saw that one and jumped on it and brought it home, was all excited, and made Mel and the kids watch it. And don't get me wrong, I'm very glad that we saw it, but wow, has that lost something not being a kid.
Yeah.
As an 8-year-old, it was the greatest film ever.
I saw it again when I was, this has been 10 years ago, but number one, it shows its age.
Yeah,
and number two, it's not as funny because I grew up with Don Knotts and Tim Conway because they're my favorite part of the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Oh yeah, that's the only part of the Apple Dumpling Gang I remember.
Yeah, I grew up watching Carol Burnett and Friends, and he was Tim Conway was on that, and Don Knotts, of course, being on Andy Griffith and Mayberry, and I grew up loving those guys, and every time they pair them up in a film, they're phenomenal. But I was the same way. I was like, okay, I'm glad I saw it again. But
yeah, it was just
something when you're not a kid.
Some of the jokes, like the time gun, and it goes off every hour, and I'm giggling already because I know that it's got oh, by the way, you better pow, and it blows the window out of the car, and why'd you invent that? Well, that could save your life someday. Yeah, if I want to shoot a guy at the top of the hour. And then the butler, walk this way. That joke never gets old. I'm sorry, that should be in more
movies.
That's
a trope, but it never gets old. Walk this way.
But yeah, so we watched that one, and then we're continuing with our Lord of the Rings. We also got in Two Towers this week. So
I picked both of them up from the library, Fellowship and Two Towers. So I'm going to get that this week. I watched Edge of Tomorrow.
Ooh,
so good. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so good.
Everybody I've talked to says it's such a phenomenal movie, and it just got burned by its name.
It did, and really, about 2/3 of the way through the movie, the name clicked for me. That they're on the edge of tomorrow because he's reliving the day. Yeah, that makes sense now.
It's still a horrible title.
It kind of made sense to me when I saw the trailer.
It didn't click to me until watching it, but it's such a good movie. So good.
I need to get on
Tom Cruise does a phenomenal job. Bill Paxton's in it, and those greats.
Oh, I didn't realize Bill Paxton.
Yeah, it's kind of a small role. Another person from Game of Thrones is in it. Emily Blunt does a phenomenal job. It's so... Even though it's based off a novel, it's so nice to have something kind of fresh and different in sci-fi currently.
Well, I'm fine with...
And it's a novel that hasn't been done before.
Well, that's just it. I'm fine with people adapting novels for films. It's been done since the beginning of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So I'm okay
just go to
with
news
that.
source books.
It's just it seems like now Hollywood is in, besides making all of the remakes and reboots and everything and rehashing everything that's come before because it was successful once, they didn't want to cash in on it again and to cash in on our nostalgia. It's either the next phase was every time a book series or a series of books was super popular, they jumped on that right away. And so it's refreshing to see them go find other material that they can use that's not book of the week right now or book.
And
of the
especially
month.
considering it came out that I guess it was a manga, not a novel. Was it a novel? I guess it was a novel then manga.
Yes.
And it came out the novel in 2004. So it's been 10 years since this thing was published. So it's nice that it took a while even to do it right, I guess. Having not read it, I don't know. I'm really intrigued to go read it now. But yeah, highly, highly, highly recommend that one. I also our morning meteorologist took me off to a show called Black Mirror. It's on Netflix. It's a British anthology show, kind of in the vein of Twilight Zone. If that immediately piques your interest, be careful. It is very, very MA. Very adult. Very dark, very heavy subject matters it's tackling. The first episode is exploring this princess gets kidnapped and the ransom goes on YouTube and starts spreading and kind of explores what they trying to be PG about it. What they're wanting the Prime Minister to do is a very polarizing thing. And so it kind of explores how the political reaction to it and different things happen and how they react to it. So that's really captivating first episode. The second one is kind of a bit more futuristic and kind of American Idol based. A little bit of the season 1 Doctor Who penultimate episode. I blanked on the name. Long Game? Whatever one that was. The reality shows. It's these people that live in these tiny boxes.
That wasn't the Long Game. Long Game was one with the first Simon
Was that the first time?
Bad Wolf.
Bad Wolf.
Yeah,
Bad Wolf. Yeah. So, but kind of that futuristic reality show idea where these people, this guy you're following, pedals for a living, and I assume that it's him generating power for other people, and every bit he pedals, he gains money. Oh. And so, but everything he does on this touch screen, he can play games and do other stuff which costs money, and sometimes advertisements pop up, but you have to pay to skip them. And then he kind of falls for a girl and wants to get her on the American Idol type thing to get her out of this life, and things kind of take a left turn and go kind of weird and twisty. And then so I watched the first season, and the first season's only 3 episodes. And the third episode is about this technology called the Grain that lets you relive any memory you've had since it's been installed. So you can rewind and play any memory. It records absolutely everything. You can even throw it onto TVs and show other people and analyze and zoom in and do a bunch of other cool, very futuristic things. The guy who starred in it's Koba from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh.
So if I hadn't been following the behind-the-scenes stuff so much of that, I wouldn't have recognized him. Who's also going to be Victor Von Doom in the new Fantastic Four.
Really?
Yeah.
He's going to get pigeonholed as a bad guy.
And this one explores the impact this sort of device has on a marriage, especially if there's the suspect of infidelity, yes, in the marriage. So it's very, very heavy, very dark stuff. But if you like that sort of thing, I highly recommend it. We finished Studio 60, which ended wonderfully, as it should have. And then today we watched Night at the Museum. First one, which I hadn't seen before.
What did you think of it?
It was cute. It was enjoyable. It wasn't... I thought it might have been funnier. I think I just don't go as much for the physical humor that he does, that Ben Stiller does. It was very cute. I'm going to watch the next one, the sequel, because the same guy lent me the movies. So... I really enjoyed... Actually, my favorite part of it probably was Robin Williams. And I didn't think he did very much of himself in it. I felt it was more... as compared to what he's done before, it didn't feel as much like Robin Williams to me.
It's not...
Maybe it's worse in the sequel.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Mrs. Doubtfire or those kind of Robin Williams roles, but... Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I bought Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Oh, you did?
Based off of our
Just based on the fact that both of you raved so much about it. I was like, okay. So I had a coupon. I will take advantage of my coupon.
Agent Carter was really good. I'm really looking forward to watching more of that.
It's set in the 40s, right?
Yeah,
it's a legit...
It's set 1946, a year after the war ended.
Now, how much... This is something I was curious about, because I'm in that mildly curious stage.
Well, what's nice is it's 8 episodes.
Oh, it's a miniseries. It's not going to be a full-blown... Oh.
Yeah. So it's a little easier for you to jump into.
How is this different than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 1940s?
It's not S.H.I.E.L.D. yet.
Okay, how is this different than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
So, I wondered the same thing when I knew that they were formulating it, but it's... Because... I'll give this away right here now. A little bit of a spoiler. She's working on her own.
She's working for SSR.
She's working for SSR, but she's kind of having to do her own thing. And I won't tell you why she's having to do her own thing. But what I was most impressed by the series is the fact that...
they've kind of released that in promotional material.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, yeah, she's working for Howard Stark, who's on the run.
Okay.
Some of his inventions got stolen.
The guy playing Jarvis is the best part of this whole show.
He is really good.
So good. What I like about it is
and it's got
they aren't
Victor from Dollhouse in it too. So.
They aren't shy of making it very 1940s male chauvinistic guys that there's no place for a woman other than in the kitchen or as secretaries, and she's bucking that trend, but she's also having to work covertly. And because she's working covertly, because of this atmosphere that existed in the 1940s, it really strengthens her character as this real strong female spy character. And there's gadgets. I mean, but we know the Howling Commandos had gadgets. I mean, that's S.H.I.E.L.D. alluded to that in its series. So. It's quite different in the pace and the style of it because it's one woman working. That's why it's called Agent Carter. It was real obvious when I first saw the first two episodes. When I first saw the first two episodes, I went, okay, this is why this is Agent Carter, because this is her working on it. Well, she's working with Jarvis, but her working on her own. Her having to do these things on her own, and while the SSR thinks that they're doing.
They're like one step behind.
Yeah, they're just one step behind her at each turn. And the first two episodes, or one if you want to call it that, because it aired kind of as a 2-hour special, but it was actually the pilot and the second episode that they ran. It's really quite different than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, and it's obviously laying the groundwork for what will become S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
but.
Just the fact that it's set in the 40s was kind of an automatic plus for me. That's something that I'm really intrigued by. That you would set a show in that time frame and not whitewash it. That's really kind of exciting.
Well, and they took the Agent Carter one shot and are expanding on it even more. It's kind of the same feel.
Although it's really hard to tell where the one shot.
I'm pretty sure it's after.
Well,
that one shot is before the series. Because she wasn't an agent yet.
I went back and watched the one shot, though, and they really kind of make it sound like she's recruited to go off and start S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's really, again, hard for me to gel now how the one shot kind of fits in. But I think as we go, and they're able to kind of paint back and explore it, I think it'll work. But
do you remember, did it say a year on the one shot? I haven't come back and rewatched it either.
I don't remember.
Because that could easily just place
I don't think it did.
Because I having not rewatched it, I just kind of fit it in my mind that, okay, she got promoted to agent, so she went to New York to be. Yeah. Well, and that's what this is.
Yeah. And it sort of works in that way, but the end of the one shot kind of leaves you with another impression than what we pick up with in Agent Carter. So. But it's solid.
Really
Man, it is so solid. I'm so stoked. And I'm quite grateful that it's a manageable 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's only 8.
I mean, I don't 7 technically now because they did 2 parts in one shot.
A 2-hour premiere, so
so I'm encouraged that it's 8 because I think not because I don't want more, but because I think that's a good manageable chunk to say, okay, where do we wrap this up and where do we go from here with it? So,
I don't think it could sustain a full ongoing series.
I don't know.
A recurring mini series, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Sherlock, but not a 23 episode every year type thing. I don't know if I would like it as much.
And if ABC chose to dump it, I could see them continuing it on in Netflix or something like that if they had to. Although it had a better start than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did on ABC. So it didn't hit the ratings that they wanted, but it hit the ratings well enough that it established itself that obviously they're going to run all 8.
See, I think
and number 2, it got enough critic response that I think that obviously it's going to make it'll make its 8-part run because if it has to, it's ABC. But.
Yeah, I think just one of the Mel and I talked a little bit about this.
Have you been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We've not been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I would suggest
you can still jump in.
Well, I'm afraid though that there's going to be a lot more tie back later as we go. Nothing about the first 2 episodes made me feel this way, but I really have a feeling that you're going to want to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before you delve into it. Especially since S.H.I.E.L.D. had some flashbacks to Agent Carter anyway, although it wasn't necessary.
I don't know.
One of the things that I'm curious about is with all of this stuff, and I'm a little afraid that because we haven't started Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet because we haven't done this. How many of these Marvel Cinematic Universe pockets are really going to wind up being integral to something else? I mean, am I going to be able to walk into Avengers 2 with not having watched any of this? Or is it going to be one of those things that there's a joke?
There'll be Easter eggs for
it'll be one of those things that if you were there from the beginning and you saw it, you're going to go to the movie and go, ha, 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 cool.
Carter might be that way, but I think that you'll get more out of Avengers, I think. You'll get a lot more out of Avengers if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The reason being is because for the first... Well, you have to do this because you can't just start with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what it did is it was playing catch-up to the MCU for the longest time.
Yeah.
It was playing clean-up and catch-up, and it always had to be a step behind what was going on. Until Winter Soldier. And then it was running par and course with it, and which was really cool. Now, events that have happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to this point are setting up a lot of things we're going to see in the MCU.
And especially later, maybe not Age of Ultron, but later down the line.
Well, for certain, later down the line. But I think we'll even get some
hints.
I think that what they've done is they've positioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now where it's now going to be a front runner to even Age of Ultron. I think they're still especially since Joss is so connected to it, still being executive producer.
And I think they're still probably smart enough that you could watch Age of Ultron without losing anything.
I think you could. Right, but here's my point: is I think that you will appreciate things in Age of Ultron more. There'll be little things that you'll appreciate more based on having watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's weird to say this, but it's not even Age of Ultron that I'm actually all that concerned about. It's Cap 3. Because I can totally see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, especially
really laying the groundwork.
Since they connected
with knowing how well that Winter Soldier was,
so much,
that I can see them laying the groundwork for what's going to wind up happening in the Civil War for the third one. So I don't know.
Sarah's only complaint with Agent Carter is she feels the dialogue is not authentic to the time. She feels like it's a little too forced, a little too over the top, trying to be 1940s instead of being the 1940s.
I think she'd be amazed to go back. Well, see, I watch a lot of old films.
She watches a lot of historical shows too.
I guess that's true. But I watch a lot of old film that was actually made then and used the dialogue from the day, and it's all very sure that much. So
I think she's looking at it as it's trying to be like a 40s film as opposed to 40s real life.
So you think films that are made today are not a reflection of society today and how we talk and how we relate?
But they're slightly exaggerated.
I don't think they are.
You don't think so?
Not unless it's something that's kind of futuristic or they're trying to be different. Mm-hmm. I think that there's obviously heavier drama in those kind of things, but no, I think that I think if you watch something from the 1980s, I think they feel very that was the climate at the time. That was the dialogue at the time. That was the
I don't know. It might have been a lot of the.
I would have to disagree.
Some of the radio stuff that she didn't like that might have been.
But you can go back and listen to those. You can go back and listen to those 1940s radio shows, and they're exactly that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what she said.
No, I think she's wrong.
She should watch Radioland Murders.
That's 90s movies emphasizing that and pushing it a little more.
Yeah. That's the stereotypical.
Yeah,
maybe that's
what has happened with that kind of film. Same way when we watch that 70s show now, they're making it a caricature of the 70s. They're not actually making it feel like they're forcing it. But I don't feel like the Agent Carter's done that. I think it feels like those old films that I used to watch in the I've watched that are from the 1940s.
Those old films you used to watch in the 1940s.
I'm not that old.
They were from the 20s.
I don't know. That's
why it doesn't feel like it.
I disagree.
She's going to stick with it, so we'll see.
I think might be also have to kind of be a little bit forgiving because it is a comic book world too. So,
yeah.
And that's always a little bit exaggerated anyway. But I don't think so. I think they've really got the feel for the era.
We did continue on with Arrow. We're up to episode 15, I think.
Ooh,
River. I can't say river because technically there's two rivers in it. Alex Kingston just showed up. I spoiled myself because I was looking at. We was trying to do the list. We were like, man, this is like where Doctor Who actors go for resurrections. After because you've got Captain Jack, and I knew Alex Kingston was in it, and I couldn't think of his name, but Dr. Moon. And everybody online's like, oh, this is great. All these Doctor Who actors are in Arrow because you've got John Barrowman, you've got Alex Kingston. It's like, what about Dr. Moon? He's been in more episodes than River, but you're not mentioning him. And I had to go look the guys up. Colin Selman, by the way, who I love. He could just read the phone book. He's got such a great voice. He's just awesome. And then...
don't get too attached.
Don't tell me that. Ben Browder was in that episode. So we've had 4 Doctor Who alumni show up already. And I guess the creator's a huge Who fan. They admitted that. That's where he was looking for his casting. In fact, they're trying to get Matt Smith. I don't know if I told you that or not.
For Arrow?
For Arrow.
That'd be awesome.
They want him to come in and play something. They don't care what.
Okay.
Hey,
all these other actors, I can look at it and go, yeah, that's not him, that's not her, that's not him. I mean, I don't think I could look at Matt Smith or anything and go, hey, that's not the Doctor. No, it is. I don't know.
Baltar.
I haven't watched anything else. Yeah, I haven't seen anything else that Matt's been in.
But
he's not the Doctor anymore.
But we're enjoying it. I get where you feel where it's not necessarily plotting, but it just kind of feels like we're doing a lot of Monster of the Week with little reveals of this big kind of overarching thing. So we're keeping with it, but I'm still not to that. Oh my God, best show ever! But it's really good still.
About where you're at's where I knew I was a lifelong fan at that point.
Really, and then who's the other one that? Felicity. I got to talk for a minute about Felicity, who is the greatest character ever. IT department is just so awesome on this show because every time she opens her mouth, it inserts foot.
Well, yeah, that's certainly true. But she also is. Most of the time, she's voice of reason too. Maybe not so much by the time where you're at, but she's just.
Was she a full part of the team yet?
She just joined up as a full part of the team, although ostensibly it's just to find Walter. So,
what? What'd you just say?
Just to find Walter is what she tells him. Walter's missing at this point.
Yes. Oh, okay. All right. So you've gotten that far.
I've gotten that far. But,
who's Walter?
Dr. Moon.
Dr. Moon.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers.
Is that when he comes... Does he not come back from Melbourne?
I
can't tell you.
Yes.
Because now we're entering territory I haven't watched.
Yeah. But, they're bringing her... He's bringing her thing. You bring her this laptop. And those my buddies. I need you to, get into it because there's bullet holes in it. Yeah. And he makes something up. And she just looks at him like it. And then they bring something else. I was hoping you could do that. I'm doing the scavenger hunt. Can you hack into this phone? Okay. There's a case of wine in it for you. And, this is a military-grade encryption on how to rob banks. Oh. Okay. So no wine. She's just so...
There's a really, really wonderful episode that really delves into her character and her backstory in the next season. Yeah, in the next season, in season 2.
He brings her the drug, and he says, "I need you to, find out where this was," because that's totally something the IT department would do. Is I can analyze the chemical compounds in this syringe and tell you where the water came from in town. IT would be all over that. Sure, I'm going to suspend my disbelief. I'm still a little.
Yeah, but based on her, essentially, this has been a. Audition for her.
Yeah.
But based on her capabilities up to this point, I think that they realized that that you wouldn't be able to take that to anybody IT, but Felicity's a little bit special, and she would be able to find out this information. So
I'm still a little hacked off about the whole I live 20 miles outside of town bit, but I'm going to suspend my disbelief. So she goes and,
have they gotten the variant open yet?
No, not yet. That's I think coming up.
I didn't realize it took that long. I can't remember.
The guy caught it on fire in the last episode, so they had to rebuild part of it again. But she said, "My buddy's wanting to do a sports drink, but I need you to analyze this compound. Why is it in a syringe?" I ran out of bottles, and Diggle just turns and walks off. There's like, I am done with this conversation. And I ran out of bottles.
Oh, there's a reason why they bring her on board.
Oh, I'm loving it. She's so great. And I love it when she calls them out later. She goes, "You've told me some pretty whopping lies. You're not very good at it." So yeah, you should totally get back into it because, like I said,
probably,
it's not best.
If I can figure out where I left off,
it's not best show ever material yet.
Netflix?
No.
Oh. Because if you'd watched it on there, it still
it would show me. But now
which is really great until somebody else comes along and watches episodes ahead of you, and then you've got to go, wait, whoa, what happened here?
Profiles. That's why profiles are good.
Yeah, I probably should set that up.
After Sarah and I kept stumbling over each other on West Wing, trying to figure out where each other was, they finally introduced it. It's been the best thing.
I need to set that up with my kids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I get all these.
All
because you watch this,
suggestions
like, no,
for you. Yeah.
But I have to be honest.
I'm not going to watch My Little Pony.
There's a part of it that would screw up my roulette for sure.
Just watching Clone Wars screws up your.
Well,
and Mason
and I watch a lot of the Marvel cartoon movies or animated movies.
Oh yeah.
And so I get a lot of suggestions based on that. I'm like, no,
because you watch this cartoon, you'll like any other cartoon on Netflix.
I do go into Netflix and rate things so that I've no longer started getting things other than hitting one the other day, Reluctant Dragon. But I have been paring back how many. My suggestions for you I get that are ones that I've already seen.
See, I've never noticed that ones I've rated are still always there.
I get them a lot when I watch again, but
even
mine don't. I've rated.
I think it's
1,600 movies now. So, yeah,
I don't know. But
I think maybe you have to reach a certain mark.
I've seen this. I think it's weird when they have suggestions for you. Yeah, it's in my list. Of course, it's a suggestion for me. Come on, Netflix. You can be
if you
smarter
haven't
than
marked that you've watched it yet, then you...
But if it's in my list, obviously I know I want to watch it.
It's not perfect.
Not taking a lot of work there.
Anything else, boy? We sure...
Sorry, we're rambling a bit.
That's all right. We're rambling a bit. Anybody else do anything fun this week?
Audie's birthday party went pretty well.
What do you get?
A lot of toys.
Star Wars?
Some.
Some Star Wars?
Some Star Wars. Anakin Starfighter.
Ooh.
Lego.
Oh.
A lot of Lego Star Wars. He likes those. Have you seen the Army Men style Lego? Like Star Wars Commando.
Oh yeah, I think I have seen that.
They're literally Army Men, but they're Star Wars characters. So they take troopers and they have the plastic bit underneath their legs, and they're all one color.
Huh.
So he got a lot of those for Christmas. So we got a bit more of those.
Those actually sound kind of cool.
Yeah, and you can get each special sets have special characters that are gold. So like Luke is gold, and you can get different versions. And then there are little spaceships that you can put on things and make them fight too. Huh. Yeah, it's really neat. Money pit.
Yeah.
So we got some of that. It was at the Children's Discovery Center this time, which I'd never been.
Oh, you've never been there?
No.
I guess you didn't have a reason to go there.
Well, apparently Audie loves the place. It was nice being at some place that wasn't so noisy.
Wasn't so noisy?
Yeah, compared to like Bonkers or Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, it's a lot quieter in comparison.
Every time I'm there, there's thousands of kids.
There wasn't a lot on Saturday morning.
That's weird.
I don't know. That's it.
We had basketball games, our first games of the season yesterday. And Caitlin, man, she rocks, but man, her team is... They've got 4 girls that have never played basketball before. And this was their first game ever, and it was rough. Mason's team, man, they are solid. There's a huge difference from kindergarten team to first grade team. These kids actually know what they're doing. So I was very impressed. So I think Mason's team's going to do really, really well. Caitlin's going to... She's having to take a leadership role since she really knows what she's doing. And
that'll be good for her, though.
Yeah, I think so. But she's one of those kind of introverted type kids, so it's real tough for her to step up and say, kind of be a captain or a leader. So,
it'll help her with the introversy too.
Well, I think so too. It'll help her self-esteem a little bit.
Yeah.
That's it. We haven't done much else. We had we did go last night. We had Cub Scout night at the museum, which we're so new to this because I only did Cub Scouts 35 years ago, 40 years ago almost. And so I don't know that much about Scouts. And his Scout nights...
Is he a Tiger?
He's a Tiger Cub, yeah. Okay. And his Scout nights are on Tuesday, so Holly takes him. So I've done very little with the Scout stuff other than going through his book and finding things we can do at home. We got Pine Derby in 2 weeks, and I have no idea. My dad's going to have to help us with that. But anyway, we went to this Cub Scout night, and we had...
Can you build a TARDIS-shaped car?
I don't know if it'd be very aerodynamic.
Block's already a block of wood, so I wouldn't do much whittling. But we went to Cub Scout night at the Kansas Natural History Museum, and what it is the Boy Scouts as a community service project. They do these different stations that you go to, and you learn about different things about Kansas history and about art and about Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and things like that. And you go to these different stations, and they give you a bingo card, and for everything that you do, if you get a bingo, they get a stamp every station they go to, and if you get a bingo, you get a special thing, and he can actually turn all of the events that he did into his scout leader and get merits based on that. Well, we didn't know a lot of this going into it, and so we were just kind of going through the works and going to stations, and each column is a different level. You can do anything on there, all the way up to Weeblos, but our focus was to get the B column, the B in bingo, because all of those were Tiger activities. So we did that, and as we were going to a couple other places that he wanted to go, little stations there was a lady that said, let me suggest this to you. She said, as a mother that scouts and didn't know anything going into this, she said, do as much as you can on here, but try to do these things that are called citizenship things. And she said, the reason why you want to do citizenship ones is because one of the things that you have to do is go someplace that talks about, or that you learn about history of your state. Well, you're already there. That counts as that. She said there were a lot of other things where beyond this event, they had to drive to places to do things. But things at the museum actually, because there were scouts there and leaders there that did stuff for them or taught them stuff, they actually qualified as the citizenship thing.
So it was a double dip.
It was a total double dip. And so we went and hit all those things. All he has to do is one more thing outside of this, and he's got his citizenship for the entire Cub Scouts. The entire time that he's in there. So they said, okay, now go down here and do this. There was a room that had all these different art things you had to learn about. And so we went to these little art things, and he already got one of his belt loop, because you get little merit things on your belt loop. You put them on your belt loop for different things that you go through, different tiers. One of his art. He got his art tier based on this one night alone. So it was really handy and helpful, especially for us we were behind anyway, because Mason started Scouts late because he had soccer, and so he ended up getting enrolled late. So he was already a step behind all these kids. This pretty much caught us up and advanced us beyond a few of the kids in this. And because we were just so lost, just don't know what we're doing. So we got a lot of information, a lot of good advice last night, and he got really tuckered out because there was just a lot of learning, because he learned about the Pledge of Allegiance, he learned about the Kansas flag. It was all this stuff we were kind of pushing him to, going, "I'm going to do this, get your stamp here." And so we really felt really good coming out. We were terribly lost and frustrated the whole night, but we came out of it going, "Wow, look what we accomplished here." So
nice.
That was really neat. I'm still a little worried about this pint derby, but that's coming up.
My Pinewood Derby car was probably the simplest thing. Always won.
Yeah, that's when ours is going to have to be simple. I think
wasn't fancy. Was just literally blocks, slightly curved or slightly slanted. Weighting it, called it good. Painted it like a Ninja Turtle, and it won.
I think we are going to paint ours like a TARDIS. I'm going to paint it blue, put a police box on the top. I don't think it'll be just the block, but it's about all I know how to do. But we'll take it to my dad's. He's done Jacobs, and he's done stuff like that. So
if you can install a helmet regulator so that it can cross the finish line before the race starts.
Marvel with Friends was Saturday night.
I missed it again. I keep forgetting about these things.
And it was Incredible Hulk.
2 behind.
We were watching Poppy.
We were watching Maze Runner.
How was it?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Anybody else show up?
Yeah. Holly was there. Brittany was there. Rachel was there. I'm sorry if I forgot somebody else. I think that was most of them.
I missed the gang.
A lot of fun. I really enjoy Incredible Hulk.
2 weekends from now?
2 weekends from now, Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
A month from now, Thor.
Should we move on to news?
Should have jumped on the good part of the schedule.
Yeah. Maybe you and me will do a Marvel with Friends one night.
We'll do a Marvel catch-up.
We'll catch up. Marvel catch-up with friends.
Well, maybe tweeting along will make Iron Man 2 better.
That's true. Maybe with friends, it'll be tough. It's not that it's a bad film.
It's just that like Brittany hadn't seen Incredible Hulk before.
Really?
Yeah. She enjoyed it. Probably said it was the weakest of the MCU, but I disagree.
No, I'd have to go Iron Man 2.
I still really enjoy Iron Man 2.
It's not that Iron Man 2 is a bad film. It's just that it's so...
It's a tonal change.
It's so not Iron Man 1. That is honestly the problem.
News.
And Winter Soldier fixed a lot of Iron Man 2, but...
Well, yeah.
kind of retroactively, but it's like, oh.
It's fine.
And now it's okay for me to dislike you.
What? Oh. Unfortunately, we're starting with some 10 o'clock news.
Why do we do that?
What? Huh? Why did it start with 10 o'clock news?
You always get the
you don't want
down thing. You don't want to
end on a down note.
But you guys can't call Kermit. You know all this stuff, but you can't call Kermit.
Nope.
All right, lay the 10 o'clock news on me.
Director Fiona Cumming has passed away at the age of 77. She worked on over 34 episodes of the classic series, including her first story was The Massacre at St. Bartholomew's Eve. And she worked on The Highlanders, The Seeds of Death, The Mutants, Castrovalva, Snake Dance, and Enlightenment, and Silver Nemesis.
All of which I've seen, except for Massacre.
So it's lots of thoughts and prayers to her family.
It's an impressive body of who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an impressive body.
Started she died on the 1st of January, so beginning of the new year, and we lost somebody great.
Well, thoughts, prayers, and meditations go out to her and her family. Friends and family.
In other news, Russell T. Davies has been talking. When apparently the BBC has offered to bring him back for the 10th anniversary, and here of the new series returning. And here is his quote: "Someone from the branding team sent me a very lovely email saying, 'Do you want to do something?' I don't know what they imagined, a talk or convention perhaps. I just said no. To be honest, a program can't have its 50th and then its 10th. I think it's just confusing. It's marvelous and glorious. Let it carry on." And I think that was pretty much the exact same phrase I said last time we discussed a 10th anniversary.
I think we all kind of came down on that.
So I'm glad that RTD is staying strong to the nope, I'm walking away. And he has a new show coming on the air. I can't remember what it's called, but it's just straight up drama.
It's interesting. One of the other pieces that came out of that was he admitted that Stephen Moffat has contacted him every year and invited him to come back and write for the series. Because apparently, and he didn't say this, but the way that he answered the question, I could interpret that maybe it was one of those people that would very much like a return to the RTD stylings. It's like, well, why don't you want to, have you ever thought about coming back? Or, they were almost desperate to try and
come back.
He was very complimentary about it. And the lovely Stephen Moffat, he asked me back every year to do this. And I've just, I've not taken him up on it. And, they said, well, wouldn't you like to? And he said, well, I did Doctor Who for 4 years. I did so many years of Sarah Jane Adventures. I did so many years of Torchwood, and this was all running at the same time. He says, I think all told, he says, is something like 64 episodes. That's a lot of ways to end the world. I think I'm good. And it was just like, I love you a little bit more. Not that, he wanted to come back, absolutely. We'd be celebrating. But just the fact that he was so complimentary about it, it was like, I love it. And I love the fact that he dismissed this whole 10th anniversary New Who, which, did you notice they use In You Who?
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Which I hate. I'm going to throw this out there, fans. If you're listening to us, please don't refer to it as New In You Who. It doesn't need an abbreviation. Ugh. It doesn't need to be catchy and clicky. And it's just...
Well, it's bad enough that we've had to bring ourselves down to identify it as New Who so that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We always cringe when we have to say New Who, but let's not make it
even worse.
Yeah. It doesn't need a designation. But
don't Twitterify it.
Yeah, there you go. It's not a hashtaggy kind of thing. But just the fact that he so blatantly kind of dismissed it as, no. Why would I? It just doesn't make sense. I loved it. It was great.
Up next in the news, Big Finish has announced that they're going to do an adaptation of Wizard of Oz. Not exactly Doctor Who related.
You realize that if Big Finish announced anything else that was not Who related, we would not be bringing this up on the show. However, because Sean is infamous for his panel that he moderated on the Wizard of Oz at Planet Comic-Con 2 years ago, we felt the need to add it. Sean, I have one question about this, though, for you.
Okay. I suspect I know what it is, but go ahead and lay it on me anyway.
Do you like the Wizard of Oz?
No, you've got to say it right.
Do you like the Wizard of Oz? I got to do the head tilt.
You get it a little slower.
Do you like the Wizard of Oz?
There you go. Now that's an appropriate way to ask that question. I did reboot my computer. I got kicked off the internet and I couldn't get back on. I knew we were coming up to it.
I got kicked off too.
I am too.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, I think we're all off.
Oh.
Well, I just didn't want to reboot.
I think I'm back
lose
on
my tabs.
I've got a signal now, but
I didn't have any tabs open, but I knew we're getting to a part of the show that I will need to have a tab open. So I thought I was panicking a little bit. It's like, sorry, I'm going to reboot my computer.
The name Stuart Milligan looks familiar.
Oh, I know that name.
He's going to be in it.
Why do I know that name?
As is Dan Starkey.
Stuart Milligan.
So there's our Who connection.
No Escape?
I don't know.
Bad guy in Lethal Weapon 3? Is that Stuart? No. Stuart Milligan. Why do I know that name? IMDb. Keith.
You have the internet. You and
I just rebooted my computer.
Remember that Keith and I had seen the last Hobbit film, so I didn't.
You saw the last Hobbit film?
What'd you think?
Was it good? Oh, wait, I've seen it.
And then some convention news. Unfortunately,
we got somebody trying to contact us through Morse code here, so I don't know where it's coming from.
Sky Captain and Hold tomorrow.
1,000 points. Or is that Stuart Milligan?
That's Stuart Milligan. That's the first thing that comes up.
Who was he in?
I don't know.
Who was he in Sky Captain?
Go away with your electronic devices. I think it is your phone. You moved it way far away, and then it's like
because I turned off the Wi-Fi and went to 4G.
That's what it is. It's It's competing with the computer here.
I thought you were just
shut the phone off.
I thought you were just telling me to move on. Oh, he was Richard Nixon.
That's why I know Stuart Milligan. He was Nixon in Doctor Who.
I know who Stuart. I know who he is.
I met him at Gowan. That's why I know who
Stuart Milligan is. I think he played Nixon.
Oh, shut up!
In Day of the Moon and The Impossible Astronaut. Put your phone away.
I just did.
Do you like
put it to
sleep. I'm leaving this in so the listeners know how disruptive your electronic device. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, we can't go 4G while we're around the computer.
Well, the thing is, I switched it back off.
I switched put it down. When you picked it up, it was
really
it started flicking again.
Weird.
Probably not yours. You're on AT. No, you're not on AT.
I'm on AT&T.
You're on AT.
I'm on Verizon.
Huh. Weird.
What are you on?
AT&T.
IT&T?
Yeah, AT&T.
Is this a British thing?
Well, I don't get any signal here, but. Wonderful signal in the UK.
It's because it's an iPhone, It's Apple service. Convention news. Unfortunately, Eve Miles has had to cancel from Planet Comic-Con.
You didn't answer the question, Sean.
Yes, I do love The Wizard of Oz. I love The Wizard of Oz very much, and I'm excited that Stuart Milligan, who I'm presuming would play the Wizard.
Yeah. I bet you're right. And it's the wonderful Wizard of Oz. So
it's based off the novel.
It appears to be a pure adaptation, I would hope. So that'll be enjoyable because there have been many adaptations of the Wizard of Oz
drama,
and a lot of them stay true to the heart and story of it. But I think this will probably be even more so.
Yeah,
I hope. Fingers crossed.
I hope it's at least as good as The Dreamer of Oz. Nobody? Okay.
Nope. Sorry.
the Dreamer of Oz was a TV movie that starred John Ritter as L. Frank Baum, and it was about the struggles to get the book published.
You said John Ritter, and in my head, you said Jack Tripper, which you two are the same, but I couldn't imagine him in The Wizard of Oz doing pratfalls. So.
Anyway, it was a good TV movie. I'm one up on you there, but nobody else has seen that.
That's because he likes The Wizard of Oz.
Because I do like The Wizard of Oz.
And you know what I found out? That everybody on the panel that you moderated were also fans of Wizard of Oz. In fact, some of them had done some stuff in the Wizard of Oz universe.
I think it spoke very well of their work. That not only were they, this is why you should come to Planet Comic-Con.
These hard-hitting questions.
I am that unpredictable, and I'll go there, and I will ask a panel full of people who've done nothing with their careers for the last 20 years except work, sweat, and bleed Wizard of Oz that question. Do you like The Wizard of Oz? That's right.
Especially when each one of them at some point in the panel had said, I love The Wizard of Oz, and that's why I do these projects.
That's why you should come.
Sean drills down to the heart of it.
Hard-hitting.
Not afraid to ask the hard questions.
This is why I'm not in the news, because they're afraid of me. You guys are afraid of me. You have your silly little journalism degrees, and it's this ivory palace on top of a glass volcano that I can't get in, and I have my bag of rocks, and you won't let me come play with you.
Yes, we will get Kermit so you can meet Kermit.
Oh, good.
Convention news. You were going there, Keith, before I derailed it again.
Yes, more convention news. John Barrowman's going to be at Galley this year.
Yay!
Sean gets to meet him
Can you do the Kermit
early.
arms? There you go. The drunken giraffe.
Yeah. Sorry, Keith.
And Kai Owens
honestly, for me, that was a little anticlimactic. With John Barrowman's going to be at Galley. It's like, I'm going to see him in March.
To share it with us on Facebook, and I think
now you get to see him sooner than the rest of us.
So now you either get
it's John Barrowman.
I know.
Now you either get less autograph money for Galley, or more autograph money for Planet Comic-Con.
I suppose what
or
that means
versa.
is I'll be able to. What I can do now is I can split my attention, because at
You
Galley
can get something signed from who and something signed from
at Galley. Yes. At Galley, it's obviously going to be very Who-centric, Torchwood-centric questions.
Right.
At Planet Comic-Con, it's likely going to be more Arrow because of the other guests that are lined up with Stephen Amell and things. So, I can divert my attention that way. I'll focus on Doctor Who at Galley, and I'll focus on Arrow at Planet Comic-Con, and it will all still be good for me. But Kai Owen, unfortunately, has had to cancel at Galley.
Sadly.
And Eve Miles, did we talk about her?
Yeah, I did.
You did. Did I miss that?
She's going to be.
Was it in the middle of this?
She canceled Planet Comic-Con.
I didn't know she. Oh, I did know she. I did see that. I did see that she canceled.
It was in the middle of this, wasn't it? I apologize, Keith.
I just kept going.
Which means even more so, Planet Comic-Con will be more Arrow-centric.
Without the Torchwood now.
Without the Torchwood panel.
But that's okay, because we also have Karen Gillian.
That's true.
Might have upped our chances, though, to get a panel with Barrowman.
I'm still not online. I'm going to go reset my router. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about Time Eddie.
Yes, Time Eddie has.
Talk about Time
Come here real quick.
Come back.
Third feedback.
Come back.
Well, that's what I need my computer for.
Well, I'm going to read the first.
I kind of love that I don't edit this show much, so we get all of the behind the scenes. The listeners get to hear all of the gaps and all of the blemishes on this show. That's why they love us, I hope.
It takes me back to the days of sitting around in the room and one Rock Band microphone.
Or all the way back to you opening a bag of chips with a fan on in the same room for another podcast that we try to get off the ground.
Apparently that's a no-no.
Who'd have thunk?
Yeah.
Time Eddie.
Potato chips,
Time
microphones.
Eddie has added Victor Pemberton, a name not often heard among Doctor Who.
But should be.
Yes, because he is the man
Go ahead.
Who invented the sonic screwdriver?
Yeah, why? It's kind of pinnacle to at least a device that's been around for nearly 50 years.
I've never seen him on another guest list.
You know, I don't think I have either, but I've heard his name a lot because of the sonic screwdriver.
I've never heard his name before.
I was like, who's this guy? He appeared on screen.
He's that guy.
In the moon base. Yeah. So automatically, I'm getting a Cyberman autograph. Yeah. I need to go make sure who he played. Script edited Tomb of the Sky Cybermen. And then he wrote Fury of the Deep. And the audio for Tom Baker, The Pescatons.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's very
exciting. Put that on the schedule. Which? He was The Pescatons. That's that one that I told you guys about a few weeks ago off mic, but I had stumbled across and said that we need to do that. Now we have a reason. Put it on there before time, Eddie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you would remember.
Send me an email. Oh, wait, I can't get online. Wait.
All right, go reset your
maybe I can do it on my phone. Hold on a second.
Go reset the router.
Turn off your Wi-Fi first.
We'll read some feedback while you're gone.
Who else was going to... When there's somebody else at Time Eddie?
That was the only announcement this week.
Oh, that's the only official announcement. We're still waiting for...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Tell them they should come to Time Eddie.
Come to Time Eddie.
Thank you.
Wichita, Kansas.
In October. Close the link. No, I can't get it back.
Well, we don't have internet, so...
I tell you the specific
It's a good thing we can still record without internet.
Luckily, I still have my email pulled up, so we can move on to feedback.
I think I do, too. So if Sean's not back by the time we get through 2 of them, we're okay.
First up in feedback is Phil. Odd Duck Phil writes, question, comment, the Vortex done ate my feedback.
Sorry, Phil.
Happy Who Year, Who Peekins. Listen to Late Christmas. I gave you my heart, but the very next day you complained that it was late, which I find ungrateful.
Wait, these aren't the lyrics at all.
I realized that a feedback with my thoughts on last Christmas, break it up, joke's over, disappeared down one of the interweb tubes I hear so much about. I talked about my new TARDIS cookie jar and how I think the actor to play Santa on a Doctor Who episode should be Brian Blessed. I also went on a bit about how I wasn't that impressed with Last Christmas. I decided to take the last feedback as a sign that I should go back and try again. And maybe your reviews and the feedback of other listeners could make me see it in a new light. Alas, it did not.
I don't know how we lost this feedback because I read it. I read it ahead of time.
His one that he's talking about?
And
I never saw it
forgot
come through.
about it. Yeah, I saw it. I
don't know where it came. Where
it disappeared. It got lost in the vortex. Yeah. So I blame Sean. Sean opened the door. It got swept out into the vortex and lost forever. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, I'm very sorry, Phil.
I remember all of this.
I never saw it come through.
I remember all of this. I'm not the keeper of the feedback, though. So.
I had it coming through my inbox. I don't know.
I wish I'd have remembered and said, hey, what happened to Phil's feedback? But
once I get internet. Hey, look, I have internet back. Maybe I can look into it. No, don't get me wrong. I don't hate this episode. It was good, I guess. But to use a Christmas analogy, I thought that packaging of the tree was an Xbox One or a PS4, and I found it was a DVD in an oversized box. I was expecting something...
That's cruel. That is so mean. Who did that to you?
Oh, I do that all the time.
So mean. Oh, I did that to Caitlin, sorry. Although hers ended up being a tablet. But did I tell you that story?
I got an iPad. Oh, wait, it's a brick.
Did I tell you that story? I'll wait till Phil's done, and I'll tell you that story. I don't know if I told. Maybe I did. You'll remind me if I did.
I was expecting something...
I won't.
No, you won't.
I was expecting something truly amazing like Christmas Carol, The Snowman, or The Time of the Doctor, and got The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Aww.
So why the lack of dun dun dun? 1. The Dream Crabs, a.k.a. DC's The Black Mercy. A parasitic life form that makes its host docile by trapping it in a dream. Alan Moore's Superman story for the man who has everything, and the Justice League Unlimited episode that it was based on did a much better job telling the story.
That was based on it.
That was based on it.
They didn't write they did not write a comic book based on a Justice League Unlimited episode.
Well, they could have.
No.
Harley Quinn came from the series, so
Yes, she did. You didn't know that, did you?
I did know that, yeah.
I did.
And a dream within a dream within a dream.
Internet's back.
Well,
I fixed the internet. Sorry, Phil, that was for you.
Well, I think Inception did it better. I don't mind that Moffat is putting a spin on ideas I've seen before, but seeing as this is a Moffat story, I expect it to surpass the others. Maybe I put him on too high a pedestal, and this is the price I must now pay. The other problem I had with the crabs, and this is while they were indeed scary and skittering around and dropping from the rafters, the first time I saw them attached to their victims, I started giggling uncontrollably. Something about the ridge on their back sitting about nose height, and the crease that can fold back to reveal the person's face. All I could see was a Muppet with its eyes closed.
You said, wasn't it?
That was
John said that, okay.
Spoilers.
That was his reference in the beginning of the...
right, okay.
Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And when they got off the tables and started zombie walking, I half expected them to start crazy waving their arms like Kermit, introducing tonight's special guest star on The Muppet Show. Yay! So, the fear I was supposed to feel was gone and never coming back.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. Have you guys seen the For the Man Who Has Everything Justice League episode?
No, I have not seen any of the Justice League. Well, I've seen a few Justice League.
Need to find it's on Netflix. It's readily available. Yeah. Go find that episode and watch it. He is 100% right. I did not even think of that until after we had done our review, and I talked to Phil, and he mentioned that, and I went, "Oh, you are so right," because that story is so good.
I've been waiting because I'm plowing through the DCAU, so.
But it's essentially the same thing that Superman has this parasitic alien attached to him, and he doesn't know it because we open and we're on Krypton and everything is beautiful, and he has a son and he has a family and everything is glorious, and he's quite content to be glorious. And Batman, of course, is the one who comes to the the Fortress of Solitude and finds out that he's there, and he's intent on ripping this damn plant off of him. So you can see where it goes from there. But
Clark, get up.
Yeah, he's right. It is a very well done version of that story.
I'll have to go check it out. 2.
I don't know about the Muppets so much. But, I didn't see the Muppets, but
somebody said that. Maybe that was the feedback.
The feedback that was lost.
Phil, that was lost. Yeah.
Clara, I did not see the news that Jenna Coleman was coming back for Series 9 until after I'd seen Late Christmas.
Good for you.
And prior to the trailer...
Sing? Yeah, we did.
We did? Okay.
Yeah, you missed the singing.
I missed the singing.
Yeah.
I was fixing the internet, Phil. Sorry, I didn't get to sing.
Al Gore will be proud.
You're welcome.
I was under the mistaken impression that she wouldn't even be in the Christmas episode. So I went from thinking that we had said goodbye to her in Death in Heaven to thinking Christmas was her swan song to finding out she's back for more. I really like Clara. I liked her with Smith and I liked her with Capaldi. But I got it into my head that we were getting a new companion and I was all excited. I was all ready to move on with something new and different, and we're not moving on. I felt that while she was good, a lot of the stuff with her and Danny was a retread of what had been said and done before. This was the 3rd time she'd said goodbye to him, 4th if you count the funeral, though given how she reacted afterwards, we probably shouldn't count that. And I really, really thought old Clara was going to be our goodbye. And it was a great scene full of emotion, and then it was gone and she's back in the TARDIS. Oh well, maybe Magician's Apprentice will turn it around for me.
Danny will show back one more time. They'll say goodbye again.
It's going to rehash.
The whole season's going to have been a dream anyway. So
I'll be so disappointed.
I'm telling you.
Nick Frost as Santa.
3.
Nick Frost as Santa. The best part of the episode for me. He nailed it. The 2 elves nailed it. And that's part of the problem. As great as they were, I think they were underutilized. Every scene they weren't in...
You said that.
Bogged down for me. And I think... And as... All I could think about was, when are they popping back up again? I almost wish this storyline...
Sorry.
Bless you.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was either.
It was a sneeze.
You
cough.
thought it was a sneeze.
I thought it was cough, choke, something. I bought.
I thought a face hugger had latched onto his face.
I thought his head was going to explode in every sneeze, cough, fart.
Wait, what? Did you just add fart into that?
Every single thing possible, and boom, he's gone.
You remember that?
Could you survive that? If everything that's like
that's the prevailing idea
at the
that you
exact
can't.
same time.
Did you ever read Calvin and Hobbes when he asked his dad, so if you had to sneeze really, really hard, but you plugged up your ears and squinched your eyes closed and your nose and your mouth,
would your head explode?
Would your head explode? He says, either way, I'm scared to try it. And his dad looks at me and goes, I was kind of hoping it was a math question. I apologize. Continue.
I almost wish the storyline had been used in another episode, and I think it could have worked well without the Christmas element, and we'd gotten a real Doctor and Santa episode. And why did the Doctor act so curmudgeonly towards Jeff? Smith, in a Moffat episode no less, made it sound like he and Santa were buds who hung out every now and then. I get that 12 is not 11, but friendships the Doctor had seems to have weathered generations okay. But other friendships the Doctor's had seem to weather generations okay. It just didn't sit right with me given what we've seen before. Like I said, I didn't hate this episode. It's not like you guys in a town called Mercy. I actually liked this episode, but I was not blown away by it. And the fact that I was expecting to be blown away, getting a merely good episode was a bit of a letdown. Oh well, I'm glad you all liked it though. Odd Duckville. P.S. Now that I know someone else who has seen Avatar and Korra, I can finally say, my cabbages! And Zhu Li, do the thing! And rest easy knowing somebody else gets that. PPS. And the part where Dane loses his helmet and he just starts headbutting helmeted orcs and they're dropping like flies and he's not even fazed by it. Squee!
That was in Battle of the Five Armies.
Hey, did you know we saw that?
Did you go see that yet, Glenn?
Yes.
Did you like that part?
I don't know. I don't remember it.
Up next is Eric.
Is he?
Yep. All the way to the top, Sean.
This one. Okay. Eric writes, Dr. Schneeku, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying About Aliens Based on Earth Creatures and Love the Mara. 1,000 points for that. Hey guys, feeling better yet? I haven't been able to watch any more of Series 8 lately, mainly because my wife has had a bit of a craving the last week or so that Keith can probably relate to. Replaying all of our Lego games. We've been working our way through Harry Potter years 1 through 4, to be followed by years 5 through 7, and The Lord of the Rings. Hopefully after that we can get caught up on Who again, or mostly caught up since we don't have access to Last Christmas.
I actually started Lego Batman 3 today.
So did Mason. Not today, this week.
Beyond Gotham.
Beyond Gotham.
Is it Beyond Gotham?
It is Beyond Gotham. It's pretty fun so far. I'm only like 4 levels in. Continue.
And while we're on the topic of video games, Glenn, it had seemed to me that while grinding for fragments in Legacy, that every time I set a goal for a certain number, a certain color fragment, that the closer I get, the fewer I get in a playthrough. I doubt this is actually due to the game being coded that way. I think it's just us trying to blame bad luck with the RNG or something more purposeful. Humans are good at that. I have to say that I'm looking forward to bigger on the inside, if only because it means more levels to play through and get fragments and no new characters. Hopefully, it will all be fragments I actually need.
I would have to agree with you, Eric. In playing this week and farming for time fragments, it did occur to me that I think it's just my perception that I feel like I'm getting less, because the more I need, the less I feel like I'm getting. However, I did find a level in the fan area which doesn't net as much experience as the Ginny level, but flash forward, Good Man Goes to War, for some reason, and it might be just something that's just it's happening this way, and I'm just noticing it. For some reason, I seem to get about 5,000 less experience, but I seem to be getting a lot more fragments, and I think it's one of the, how on the level it shows you like what fragments are most probable in that level. It's a green and red one, but I get just as many blues and I get just as many blacks in it. And I seem to get, like, sometimes I'll play a level and I get some, and sometimes I'll play a level and I won't go any items. That one I played all week long and have gotten at least one time fragment every time that I've played it. And it's a quick play if you play it with power-up levels, and I've been bringing characters in to level up because I'm getting, like I say, about 5,000 less than Jenny, which is a good one to farm experience from. But in this one, I'm getting, quite a bit of experience for playing through it. It is 5 waves, but they're really quick because if you've got a really powerful team with one weak person you're trying to level up, you really power through them. So I would suggest that if you're looking for both time fragments and experience, that's a good one as well to pop into and play several times because you will build the experience. And for some reason, every time I've gotten, at least one, and most of the time getting up to 4 and 5 time fragments of different varying colors. So that might be a suggestion.
I'll have to go back and try that because I had my team and went all the way back to whatever it was, season 7, 5, the first one.
I don't remember now because, they've actually reset it. Did you notice that?
I did notice that. They said they had something that was causing a weird glitch.
So they reset it back to season, but the next 3 are still chaptered. But yeah, there was
whatever the first one was, and I was going through looking for specifically black fragments.
I think it was season 7.
And kind of had my
7, 6, 5. Yes.
Yeah, 7. And had my, so this one gives you a black one, this one gives you a black one, and I have not gotten any. Like, I literally played, 7, 8, 9, 10 levels that were purportedly to give you black fragments.
Oh, right. I see what
and
you're
got
saying.
no black fragments. I didn't get any fragments of any color. I think I got one red one. The rest of the time I got nothing.
I seem to get a lot when I go back. I just don't get the one I'm looking for.
And I think maybe it was because I had already farmed those levels pretty extensively looking for those black fragments. So maybe I finally ran out.
I agree with Eric. I don't think that the game is programmed that way.
Oh, it totally is. And I should know because I fixed the internet. I know all about coding.
Yeah, so
not really. I can't back that up.
I did drop some more since we're talking Legacy now. I did drop some more expert level characters now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've gotten I got the 10th Doctor, I got the 9th Doctor. River. Did I tell you guys I got River yet? I got River at some point. I'm only missing 3 Doctors in the Doctor level now, in the Doctor screen. So
that's impressive.
That is impressive.
Well, it's again, once you get your people leveled up, you get the right teams built. It's a lot easier to do the expert. I remember 6 to 8 months ago when they added the expert levels, and I went in there and tried one. And at the time, I think there was only 5. And I went in there and I tried them, and I was like, there's no way I'll ever be able to do this. Now I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, well, these are manageable as long as you've got the resources. So it's still tough, but I'm doing it.
Continue.
I wasn't
What you reading?
Oh. I forgot. I was reading, wasn't I?
Oh my gosh, it was just 5 minutes ago, too.
You think I'm kidding?
I brain dead. You know what? There's no school, so there's no reason for his brain to be active.
Yeah.
It has turned to slush. By the time he goes back to school, he's going to be drooling and staring blankly at the board, going,
I like the Wizard of Oz.
Wow. Wow, Sean. Continue.
I felt bad that Keith kept getting interrupted. I wanted him to be able to continue with
you.
I did take you quite a ways off tangent on the talking about
you got me excited. I was like, it's time for the legacy segment of the show. We haven't done one of those in about an hour.
I was going to save that, but then he brought up all that stuff, and okay, we'll talk about it now.
Okay, where did I leave off? Now on to the Mara archive. First off,
are we reviewing the Mara this week?
Sean, you've been rather critical of Tegan in the past and her lack of adventuresome spirit in Season 19. I seem to recall you going on about it in your review of The Visitation. Now, considering that Kinda directly precedes that story, can you sympathize with her a bit more? After all, she got entangled with the Doctor by accident, lost her aunt. Oh, Keith hasn't gotten that far, has he? and got possessed by a giant snake demon. Can you blame her for wanting to go home?
He won't remember, so...
Did you want to go home?
No, he won't remember the visitation. He can't remember that he was reading that.
I do remember the visitation. The visitation's the one with the rainbow trout.
Yes.
Until you pointed it out that it happened in that order, I don't know that I'd ever really considered it. It's just Tegan had always been kind of the whiny, I want to go home companion for me. And
honestly, for me, walking away from both of these stories, I had a better. It did Tegan better service.
I think so. Yeah,
I don't remember either about our reviews, but I think I kind of came to Tegan's defense a little bit in the sense that she'd gone through a lot.
Set yourself up to be the good guy.
So I certainly think that I was probably
listeners, go back and listen and let us know.
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I have never watched the Tegan stories in sequence.
It'd be an interesting exploration. Watch all of the Fifth Doctor's era, really, because it blends together so well.
Which maybe we'll put that on the schedule at some point in time down the road.
We do have to do a Tegan companion archive at some point.
Yeah, we can. I will say yes, that I can see that maybe that in retrospect, based on that, I could have been a little harsh, and that I will reserve further judgment until I go back and watch them in the proper sequence. How about that? Is that fair?
Fair enough.
But yeah, I can't really blame her for wanting. I mean, come on, you're in a time machine. You can go anywhere in space and time. You kind of have to expect the odd possession. It's just that comes with the territory.
Twice.
I said no. It's an extension of the same event. Yeah, it's just separated by time, but not by. Yeah, you obviously did a piss poor job fighting him off the first time. Still hiding in the dark little recesses of your mind, scratching at the walls. It really is a shame that Nyssa wasn't properly written into this story. I think there were some last-minute changes to Sarah Sutton's contract, etc. But have any of you read the post on IO9 from this summer about Nyssa? It was basically the poster's idea of a fanfic about how to realize Nyssa's potential as a character better. But I'm hoping someone at Big Finish read it and wants to write it as a companion chronicle. It's essentially Nyssa's hidden story of Season 19, in which she plots revenge on... Oh, you haven't gotten that far, have you? Keith, you are forbidden from reading IO9.
I guess I won't go read that article.
During Kinda, she only fakes being asleep, but actually borrows the TARDIS and sonic screwdriver and goes off on her own for a bit. I'll tweet you a link later. Ooh.
Which he did.
Oh, and here's a question for the ladies in the audience. Was Nyssa flirting with the Doctor at the beginning of Snake Dance? I wasn't sure. I'm about as obvious as the Doctor about such, or I'm about as oblivious as the Doctor about such things. Was she flirting?
It kind of seemed like it could be taken that way.
I think it was just new outfit.
She was being flirtatious, but I don't think it was romantic flirting. Does that make sense? I think she was being flirtatious in the just kind of playing fun with him, but not necessarily. Exactly. I don't think it was in any sort of romantic flirtation. I think it was just being sort of.
I like how we're going to jump on this question when he specifically asked the ladies.
Maybe.
Ladies, let us know.
Yeah, ladies, let us know.
I would like to believe that if it was romantic flirtation, that she would have picked a better outfit. Because...
I almost took it as she put on this hideous outfit and thought, I'm going to see if the Doctor's going to say something.
That's the impression.
Hey, Doctor, what do you think of this?
That's the impression that I
maybe the previous scene that we didn't get to see, she tried something low cut and flirtatious, and he didn't notice that either. So she thought she'd go the opposite direction with this. I don't know.
Now, ladies, are we done?
Yes.
And another thing.
Let's go on. Continue, Keith.
Now on to the elephant.
Now on to the elephant, or giant snake, as it were, in the room, the Mara. Glenn and I ought to hate the Mara. We all know of his disdain for aliens based on Earth creatures, anthropomorphic or otherwise. And I've declared before to be on his side in this matter. But there's just something about these stories that prevent me from coming down too hard on them. It could be because Kinda was one of the first full Doctor Who stories I ever saw, and I didn't have such high standards on alien designs back then. It could also be that they're just darn good stories that it doesn't matter. And judging from some of the comments of Glenn that I've read and heard, he seems to agree. I'm not one for squeeing too much, but I will admit that I squeed when watching the Torchwood episode with the fairies, when Jack told Gwen he thought the fairies and the Mara were related. This puts me in a bit of a pickle, so I'm going to fix it. According to the humanoids entry in the TARDIS Core Wiki, there have been a couple of theories as to why there are so many species that look like humans, or as Ten would say, look Time Lord, as they came first. One is that Gallifreyan evolution was relatively early in the history of the universe, and they caused a morphic field that interacted with the time vortex, causing humans, Kinda, Manusans, etc. Another is that Rassilon intentionally meddled in the gene pools. Now, what if snakes were originally just on Manusa? When the Mara was first formed, it took its appearance from an animal they knew and feared. While the Mara ruled with the crystal, it had immense power that let it transcend time and space through the dark places of inside, which are everywhere and timeless, and gained power over other worlds like Earth or Devaloka, causing snakes to evolve there, and influencing the cultures, which is why so many worlds in these two stories came from Buddhism and Hinduism. When the Mara was banished and lost the crystal, it was weakened and could only take root on Devaloka due to the psychic powers of the Kinda, which it exploited. Eventually, they were able to lock it away in the place of the wind chimes until Tegan came. There, fixed.
An extension of that would be why, in the biblical story of the Garden of Eden, why Satan took the form of a snake and the snake was cursed to continue to crawl on its belly. I mean, it really kind of makes sense because that's, for some people's opinion, is the genesis of Earth and the creation story, and the snake being relevant there, or the serpent being relevant there as well, kind of lends to that as well.
I kind of thought that's why they chose a snake for the design of the creature, to play on that kind of...
Quite possible.
Well, especially in the... Once Tegan gets mind controlled over, and she's throwing stuff on the guy like from a tree, it looked like throwing apples even.
Yeah.
I mean, very allegorical.
It was. And to answer your question, I'm actually, Eric, I'm coming from the exact same perspective, is that New Who, not in you, but NEW Who, actually is what has soured me on the anthropomorphized or alien creatures based on based on Earth animals thing, is because when I was a kid, this is when I saw these as well, and I was very untainted by that idea back then, and so that was a very cool idea, and so I was these stories were not. They're not a detriment because of that idea that I have a problem with that now. New Who really kind of cemented that idea is the fact that we seem to have used that so much, and especially RTD's era of using earthbound creatures to represent, alien species. And so having seen this prior to that was already kind of grandfathered in for me.
So this gets grandfathered in, and I can understand that from, the filter of nostalgia, but also from the standpoint that by this point, since we can do so much different better effects, why shouldn't we do different and better effects? So I can buy that.
Well, it's not like it was a stand-up, walking and talking snake either.
Well, yeah, no, this wasn't anthropomorphized in any way. It was. When we see the snake, it's very snake-like. But again, it's that idea. He's right. I don't just have a problem with anthropomorphized animals. It's also using any sort of representation of an Earth-based creature being the idea behind a alien creature, which could, or in my opinion, this explanation aside, which is really good, is laziness. I mean, there's no reason why you can't come up with something, like Sean said, especially nowadays, come up with something new and original, different.
Yeah.
Other than...
Same can be said also for having just humans everywhere. Unless you're making them specifically human, change their look enough, or a little bit if you're visiting an alien planet, so that they don't look exactly humanoid.
That comes from that. We've been doing science fictions for so long
and
that
everybody looks the same.
Yeah, I mean they've established that there's just other humanoid species in other parts of the universe.
Well, that and Star Trek really kind of took that to the nth degree.
But again,
with,
that was
I'm an alien because I have a nose ring.
But at least there was something.
That was a limitation again, though, of
Yeah.
costuming and makeup and special effects. I mean, you couldn't effectively do it so well, and so I think that's been that's been the basis of why.
Sure, I mean, I totally get it. You put the producer's hat on, and I understand it. But then there's the sci-fi fan in you that's like, really, you're just going to paint dots on somebody and call them different. There's just
it's better than not painting dots on them and still calling them different.
Klingons' appearance.
Well, they finally had the money for that.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So, yeah. Well, no, they had crazy eyebrows in the original. That was different.
But I like how he's kind of expanded on the Wikipedia causality and expanded on it as well for the Mara.
I'll get more into that later. All in all, these were two great stories. I really like it when the enemy doesn't have a body or uses the bodies of others. It makes for good drama, and you have to wonder how the Doctor's going to beat it without hurting the essence. Oh, and I tweeted the other day about how I cannot see Macaulay Culkin in Snake Dance. Can't not see Macaulay Culkin in Snake Dance. I also have to say that in Kinda, I can't not see Joffrey from Game of Thrones when I see the aspect of the Mara that tortures people.
I think there were some tweets about that.
Well, here we go again. Down to the wire. Will I make it? Eric.
And you did.
And you did.
You did.
Thank you, Eric.
Up next in feedback, Holly.
Oops. I went back too far. She was one of these. And Holly writes, does she have a subject line? Kinda and Snake Dance? Hey guys, I enjoyed both Kinda and Snake Dance. I have to say that Tegan getting taken over by the Mara instead of Nyssa was probably a good idea. In Kinda, I really liked the old woman that helped the Doctor along with the scientist lady figure out what was going on with both the Kinda and the Mara. In Snake Dance, I really felt for Tegan, and that she's reliving in her dreams what happened to her when she was under the influence of the Mara. Then, the reveal that the Mara is alive and well on Manusa had me wondering at first if it was just some other alien feeding on Tegan's dream, and him finding out that it wasn't the case had me interested on how the Mara survived and happened to it in Kinda. And what happened to it in Kinda. The Doctor wanting to help and forcing the issue of what Tegan's nightmare was about, and Nyssa trying to stop him, shows the Doctor's concern, and something tells me that in the back of his mind, he already had an idea as to what was going on and who was behind it. Lon and his mother and the whole thing with the Great Crystal helps to ramp up the action, and a possessed Tegan is just as frightening as a possessed Perry. I think I've lost count as to how many times companions have been possessed in the run of the show. Well, I'll wrap it up here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on these two stories. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, Chrissy. Chrissy writes, these muffin-flippin' snakes on this muffin-flippin' plane. Dear Vortex boys, a word about Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime by extension. I used to have Netflix, but I switched over to Hulu Plus because Netflix never had anything I wanted to watch. Hulu, for the most part, has new things that I want to watch. I can keep on current seasons as they air, rather than wait for Netflix to get them after the whole thing has gone out. I know a lot of people complain about Hulu Plus having commercials and such, but I think it's worth it. Now, commercials don't bug me on Hulu because they have a countdown to how long the ad breaks will be, which are never longer than 3 commercials at a time. Shakes out to about 2 minutes or less per break. So they aren't as annoying. So if the cost of having brand new episodes on Hulu Plus is that they have to air commercials, I'll gladly take it, especially if I don't have to pay out the nose per month. If you think about it, if you have Hulu Plus, Netflix, and Amazon Prime, you're still paying less per month than you'd be paying for a full-on cable or satellite subscription, which can get pretty pricey. And you can get all the stuff that each of these services have exclusive rights to. So it's a win all the way around. Just a thought. Chrissy, normally I would agree. I could see your arguments, except for when they insert commercials in shows that don't have commercial breaks, like classic Doctor Who. That's where I had the major issue. Also, it just feels weird and jarring.
I think I'm used to it because I've been with Hulu for so long.
That could be.
I would agree with that, and I wouldn't.
A lot of British television's like that on there.
I wouldn't mind a commercial break
if they did it in the beginning.
If they did it
and the end, I'm fine. Just don't break the show because it wasn't intended to be broke.
Well, do they air them in omnibus or do they air them in episodic?
Episodic.
Then yeah, put the commercial. I'll even go so far as to say I'll even settle for a longer commercial break between episodes. If you put it in that break versus breaking into the middle of a show that doesn't have a commercial break there. I agree.
I'll tell you, it's just a little bit in their defense. Quite frankly, I've been watching Classic Who on there that I don't own, and the commercial breaks. It's not like they come in the middle of the action. They really fit in between scenes, and so Hulu does a nice job about that. And it doesn't really feel like we've broke the commercial in an odd place. So I haven't ever had that problem. However. That's coming off of Daily Motion because I had watched some Classic Who on Daily Motion, which just must have a time point,
it was horrible.
And it will drop right in the middle of action. Cut away to commercial for at least 3 commercials, sometimes up to 5 on Daily Motion, and then come back right in the middle of action. And so I think maybe my perception is coming from that. I don't notice it on Hulu anymore, but I think Hulu Plus has done a good job of identifying where the natural breaks are. And so it's not so jarring. If they're
doing that, it does make it less jarring.
The only exception is where I was watching The Wrong Mans on Hulu Plus, and they had The Wrong Mans. It's got Craig from Closing Time and what was the other one? The Lodger. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember the other actor's name. It's actually quite a
James Corden.
And
he's Craig. I don't know.
Craig. I don't remember the other. Anyway, I'm so bad with actors' names. Anyway, and but there was this one part in there where the commercial break was horrible, and I did do that. Okay, you weren't paying attention when you set up commercials for this, but I think somebody must sit and watch those and go, okay, here's a natural spot for a commercial break, because you can see the lines if you look at the bottom where the timer bar is. It shows you where you're at, your progress bar in the episode. You can see that a lot of times when you bring up a classic Doctor Who, for example, you can see where the little lines where you're going to hit a commercial break, and they're never even. So it's obviously not increments. Somebody sits there and does set though. Some of them might be the little sections between the line where the breaks are going to come are clearly different. They're different lengths and varying sizes of that progression bar. So I think they must sit down and do a little bit of forethought. Yeah,
that makes it a little bit better, but I'm still opposed to it. She continues. Anyway, we're talking about the Mara this week. Can I just say how much I love the Mara as a villain? I love the psychological terror that this creature can cause and how fun that can be in a story. The Mara is something I wish writers for New Who, she spelled it correctly, would come up with a good story for because... I wish the writers for New Who would come up with a good story for because... it would be amazing to see what they could do with it nowadays. But we do have Kinda and Snake Dance, which are both so darn good. Kinda. Here is where the setup for the Mara gets going, and it's just about perfect, if you ask me. I love that we get all these different points of view of both the Mara and the Kinda, because we've got Team TARDIS in all these different places and experiencing the planets in different ways. Guess they couldn't come up with a scenario for Nyssa, which is why they locked her in the TARDIS for this story. And this is my only complaint about Kinda, honestly. I guess Sarah Sutton was on holiday or something. That's what I'm going with. The scenes with Tegan and the Mara in the Mara-verse are so creepy and so well done. It looks like something that could be done with today's technology, and the fact that it's 30 plus years old, that's impressive. The side characters were wonderful as well. Dr. Todd is basically an older version of Nyssa, and her dynamic with the Fifth Doctor is one of my favorites. Panna and Karuna, the old woman and her apprentice, are fantastic as well. I love Panna's attitude towards the Doctor, calling him an idiot. Even the two guys in the dome going mad, while not my favorite characters, are still enjoyable. Overall, this is one of my absolute favorite stories, if not my favorite Fifth Doctor story. Snake Dance. Kinda is the Mara in a remote jungle world. Snake Dance puts the Mara in a more advanced civilization, which means the Mara can reach and infect a lot more people and cause a lot more havoc and mayhem. That's sort of like in Thor. The mystical supernatural aliens from Asgard attack a small town in New Mexico. And then in Avengers, the aliens escalate their attack to New York City. And it's hundreds of times worse. I love that we get more of the mythos and origin in the Mara in this story. I love that we see its home planet of Menusa and how Menusans remember it in their festivities. Like Kinda, the side characters are so good here too. Lon is one of my favorite one-off characters in the Fifth Doctor era. He's a total dork in the beginning, but he gets more and more interesting after he's infected by the Mara, and it's a treat to watch him devolve, while also getting more to do. Speaking of getting more to do, Nyssa truly shines in this story. With Tegan under the Mara's complete control, Nyssa gets to set up and be the fantastic companion that she is, and makes me wish we could have gotten more of her doing great things in the TV stories. The Doctor is great here too. He's so manic and different than anything his usual calm demeanor. That puts so much more emphasis on how dangerous the Mara is and raises the stakes for the civilization that otherwise isn't too worried about the Mara at all. Plus, that scene toward the end when the Doctor meets Dojin and performs the snake dance. I love the Doctor's inner monologue about how all these bad things have happened, are his fault, and he has to make it right. It provides a unique look into the Doctor's view of himself, the things that he worries about and what he's afraid of. We don't get to see that very often. And then he goes in and stops the Mara from taking over Menusa with one of the best endings of a Doctor Who story. Simple and quiet and poignant. As Tegan is freed from the Mara's control, and she shows just how horrible it really was. Makes up for some of the over-the-top screaming that the cliffhangers of this story had. Overall, this is one of my absolute favorite stories, if not my favorite Fifth Doctor story. No, wait a second. Nope, I stand by both statements. Well, that's enough for me tonight. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts and discussions on these two wonderful stories. Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Well, let's move on to our reviews of Kinda. The Doctor arrives on the paradise planet of Delva Loka to find the colonial mission on the verge of collapse. Several of its members have vanished into the jungle without a trace, leaving the survivors suspicious and paranoid. The mystery deepens as it becomes clear that the planet's native inhabitants, the Kinda, possess hitherto unsuspected powers that challenge human understanding. Meanwhile, the Doctor's companion, Tegan, becomes possessed by the Mara, a force of pure evil that lives in dreams and preys on fear.
Dun, dun, dun!
A resounding dun, dun, dun from the three of us.
But.
What's your but?
This is a story that shouldn't work.
I would agree with you on that.
When you look at it, and we spent a lot of time on Friday Night Who. Why is this guy insane? What is wrong with him? What is going on here? Why is Adric being stupid? Oh, well, never mind. We know the answer to that.
It seems so disconnected at first.
It's so disjointed that it almost doesn't work. You've got the colonial mission going on. You've got Colonel Hottie is the only name that he reminded me of the elephant from the Jungle Book. Oh, we're going to go off in here and have a mission. Okay, here we go. And he's going to go off and do his thing.
He sort of reminded me of Commander McBragg. You remember that? It was a cartoon that was sometimes inserted in Underdog cartoons.
Oh, yes.
And he was the guy that always was telling the story to the guy. They'd be sitting in a chair. They were a nice, proper gentleman.
Yes.
And he was always telling the story to his friend. And then, of course, they would flash to the story they was telling. And he was within the story. And he just had that air, that English air of bragging, essentially.
Yeah.
And that was that. I just kept seeing Commander McBragg.
Now that you say that, that's all I can see now.
Sorry.
Thanks.
And now I'm not the only one. Yes.
But so you've got these guys, and obviously the commander is not fit to lead this mission, and his Weasley first lieutenant is not fit to be in charge of anything. But the first decision he makes is, well, I'm going off. You're in charge. It's like, oh, God, here we go. And boy, that
these slightly ridiculous modes of transportation.
It just opened the floodgates for this guy to become crazy. I mean, there's no other word for... Well,
if he didn't go actually mad, he would have gone power crazy.
There's a couple of really good words, but I can't use them because we're a family show. He just goes nuts. So you've got that whole thing going on. You've got the crazy modes of transportation with this gigantic robot that's tromping through. I looked at the design of this thing and I went, there's absolutely no way anybody
that practically does not make sense.
Half a brain would have gone to the jungle with you. There's just, the AT-AT, the all-terrain armored transport. Sure, I can see that in a variety of different environments because it's kind of it's an all-terrain vehicle.
It's got legs.
This one, not a chance. So obviously, one of these guys was in charge of setting the mission up. Yeah, it looked a lot like a war machine. But one of these guys had to be in charge of setting this mission up because they went, well, what's the most impractical thing I can think of to bring with me on the jungle expedition? Ooh, the XT9 470's out. I want one of those. So they bring this thing along, and it doesn't. Okay, whatever. And then you've got the Kinda, which the story is named after. Right? They're kind of a footnote. They're kind of there to facilitate things. So we've got
at least up until we meet the old lady.
Yeah,
and then,
we've got mental powers.
Front focus.
Yeah. We've got mental powers, and we're sort of telepathic, and we're locked up, and we're sad about it. That's pretty much what you get for like 3 episodes. And then the Mara and Tegan stuff is going on. And I suppose we can touch on this because I thought we discussed this once upon a time.
I don't know if we ever discussed it on mic.
That she was. I thought we talked about this when we did, not Arc of Infinity. What was the second Fifth Doctor story? What's the second Fifth Doctor story?
Fort of Doomsday.
Yeah, Fort of Doomsday. When we reviewed Fort of Doomsday, which we all loved, and they commented that was supposed to have been her out, right. that Nyssa was done.
That was it, yeah.
And that Peter Davison fought very, very hard for Sarah Sutton and for Nyssa because he felt that she was the companion of the bunch that was so much more closer in temperament to what his Doctor was going to wind up being. And that was the first one that was filmed in that block, even before Castrovalva. And so getting on the heels of that, they already had this story ready to go because Kinda was next. And she wasn't in it. Because they had planned on writing her out. Well, then they went ahead and kept her, but they couldn't rewrite the whole script in order to incorporate her into it. So that's why it's, she has a headache and she's going to go lay down on the TARDIS and not really be used until the next following story.
And she was not on holiday. She just was not. They weren't able to use the character.
Yeah,
so.
And it was what Big Finish then utilized for that one story, right? It was her going and lying down. Was that catalyst? Am I remembering that correctly? That's why it was that psychic issue.
They said it was a psychic issue.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
right.
That's what
they...
Yes. And apparently...
That one that tied very heavily into Traken?
Well, we are not done building on that either. The Big Finish continues to...
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't got to that point.
That's where this came from.
That's where that came from. So the Big Finish is retconning why she had a headache.
Issue,
which is awesome. So, unfortunately, Nissa's not in it, but then we get Tegan, and she's off doing her thing, and the Mara comes into play, and we've got this weird, trippy sequence in the mind of what's going on, and then we get a possessed Tegan, and none of these elements seem to make any sense. None of them have anything to do with anything else that's happening on this planet. And the Doctor seems very unconcerned about Tegan through most of it. That, she's off in the jungle. She's okay. She went back to the TARDIS. She's okay. I hope she's all right. Oh, she was laying down underneath the Dreamweaver? Hopefully she'll turn out okay. I've got to deal with the crazy people. So you look at this on the surface and you go, what? And this was my first time with this one. I had never seen this before. So I'm watching this, and I know that you were a fan, and I know Chrissy's a fan, and I'm watching, and I'm going, why? Why is everybody like this? This is horrible. This is not a good story at all. And then the 4th segment came along. And it took all of these individual threads and kind of went doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and looped them together into this bright, beautiful bow. And it suddenly made sense. And it was awesome. And it was intriguing storytelling once you got to that point. Yeah. And it made sense of everything, all the chaos that had come before. It wasn't just that we were putting this in here because we didn't know what to do with it. It was because there was a rationale and a legitimate reason for everything. I was like, oh, even the jungle walker, even that is something to do. And a lot of it was due to the old woman and her apprentice. And just beyond awesome for that character and for the interactions. And it reminded me of what was the third Doctor story where they were down on the planet with a poisonous atmosphere and Pop, where'd he go? What was the name of that one?
The Mutants.
The Mutants.
Yeah.
There was that one character in the Mutants that was kind of the leader of the. That's what she really reminded me of. I kind of kept flashing back to that element because she kind of served the same purpose.
Right.
But
well, and then there's Dr. Todd, who's such a good character throughout the entire thing. That's. I know we tend to say this a lot, but that's somebody that could have made a great companion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She certainly she's the scientific element. She's the scientist element of this, whose hands are tied due to bureaucracy or due to governance, but has completely different principles and ideals of the leadership that she's under. Unfortunately, because she's constrained by the rules of why she's there and who's in command, it ties her. And I've always kind of liked those characters that have a little different principle or moral outlook on things, and they even kind of, as she did, kind of skirt the rules a little bit, just so much that she can get away with it, not get in trouble for it,
not necessarily
or do something very offensive.
Not necessarily the flat out rule breaker who's going to go, I disagree with you, and go off and do their own thing, but the ones that really genuinely feel like I am compelled to do this. But not
because
that.
It's the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I like those characters.
The reason why I'm here is more the means for why I have to put up with all these rules and regulations, essentially.
Yeah.
And I've always liked those type of characters. I want to address something because in retrospect, I understand what you're saying about the problems that this has at first, until you get to the kind of the thing that kind of lets everything go and you realize what's going on here. The one thing that I disagree with you on is the second in command guy, because I think that he's a bit tropish in the sense that I think that
he's the antagonist until you realize what's really going on.
Not even that. He's immediately comes across as that second in command that really wants a leadership role.
Yes,
and I think that's played very nicely. And he is also that second in command that does everything wrong because his leader or the man above him in rank is always pushing that person. Even if they did things perfectly, they're always trying to find those few things that they did wrong, because that's only going to make them a better soldier. That's only going to make them a better commander in the future. And I think that that relationship comes across a little bit between Captain Picard and Riker in a way. Now, much subtler evidence of this, but Picard is always looking at the little details that Riker does wrong in order to make him a better commander later on. And I think and that has always come across to me. And the insanity isn't there so much, and he's more of to me, kind of a bratty guy, because he doesn't feel like he deserves what's being heaped on him by the commander. And so I think I've always gotten that impression that until he takes over, and there's clearly something wrong with him. Not that he's going insane, but something is influencing him, and there's an outside influence. I think that's obvious enough that I don't have a problem with that escalation and how this guy goes from level of being bratty second in command to insane. I think that ramps up slowly. So I don't have. I agree with all of
maybe I
your
just
points
looked at
with
it differently because he starts off very much in that. Well, I ought to be in charge.
Yes.
And you think he's going to be the power-hungry second in command who can't wait to get his opportunity to shine, and then does, and immediately is like, okay, I know where we're going with this. Right. But then it doesn't go there because of the insanity. And I think maybe that's what threw me.
That's the problem, is that element of the story then gets dropped off and not explored because we have to introduce the outside influence that's causing him to go.
I think that's what threw me, is I expected it to go this direction, and he went insane instead, and I was...
that being said, that's what I've always wanted, was a little more of a slow progression in that part, but based on where we have to go with it in 4 stories or 4 episodes, you don't get the chance to tell that story. This is one of those. It's funny that as we started this endeavor, I couldn't tell you. In fact, I always believed that I hadn't seen a lot of the Fifth Doctor's era on television. And it's the more that we go into these and I watch them. Now, these I knew I had seen as a kid, both of these. But there were a lot of elements to this that I thought I had forgotten. And when I watched them, it was just all right there. And I realized, oh, yeah, I can do it. We did that before Doomsday. I sat there and went, I couldn't remember anything about that story. But as soon as everybody came on the screen, I started remembering exactly what this story was. It was kind of that way with Kinda and Snake Dance, knowing that I had seen them, but I thought I had forgotten more than I did. And it wasn't until both of these stories, as soon as we set up the players and everything that's going on, immediately I remembered everything about these stories. And I find myself, as we watch these Fifth Doctor stories, realizing I saw a lot more Fifth Doctor as a kid than I thought I did. And I've probably seen nearly everything that I thought there were a lot more holes in this. This is one of those two stories that I remember back as a kid thoroughly enjoying. And really with Kinda, although there's a lot of visuals and there's a lot of excitement, and I guess there's not a lot of action in the story, but the atmosphere of it is so hyper. It's so hyped up. Yeah. It's so big that I think that's what captivated me when I was young. And so I've always kind of liked this story. Now, Snake Dance, I think, tells a much more clear story than Kinda does, because Agreed. You're right. You're very confused as to what's going on in Kinda up until to a certain point. But I remember as a kid just being very captivated with what was going on, and I think maybe I relished in the confusion of it. And since then, I've gone back and seen this one twice since then. And each time, I still have that just weird, just joy of watching it, because it just seems like a really engaging story. And every time it really is. And even the snake. I mean, I had, until this viewing, I have always liked that really cheesy looking snake.
I didn't have a problem with the snake at all.
No, I didn't either.
As a kid, I thought it was cool. On second viewing, I realized I saw the puppet. You know what I mean? They revealed the curtain was stripped from my eyes, and I remembered it being more cool and realistic as a kid. But then the enjoyment of the story is still at a level that you kind of overlook that. And then this time, I watched it for Friday Night Who without the special effects, even though I could have at that point put the new effects on it, and still was just amazed by the visuals in this story. And then I went and watched the special CGI that they did to add it, and it elevated it so much more. It was even more cool. Mm-hmm. I didn't just watch the part with the snake, but it was even cooler. But I sat there thinking, well, this looks awesome and incredible, and I wish this could have been this way all along. But it didn't ever step back. And as I thought about it, I thought it didn't matter, because the story is so engaging, and everything in this is just really, I don't want to say fun, because it's not a fun story. It's not what you think of as a fun romp, but it's such a high energy story.
It's captivating.
It's captivating. It is. Really is. And it's interesting that you say that because there is a lot of kinetic energy happening within the story, which is another element that shouldn't work, because when you analyze it, it's about telepathy and mind control and the dark places of dreams. That's not something you can really visualize. No, those are all concepts that are...
especially in the storytelling that they were able to do in the classic series.
Yeah.
It's especially difficult to do.
And so it's yet another, I think, high mark achievement for it, that it can take those kinds of concepts and give us a visual to go along with them that may have been a little chaotic at first, but then gets to that point where it all suddenly does tie together and make sense. And you even get some of the cliched Doctor Who moments about a bomb that's going to go off and blow up the whole base, but meanwhile we're constructing a box fort.
What I've always liked about the bomb thing too is a lot of times when you watch a show, and especially on rewatch, and you know what's going to happen, you kind of lose that element of suspense. Yeah. But this is one of those stories that always seems to keep that element of suspense for me. That there is a bomb that's going to blow a 50-kilometer size hole.
Yeah, this is not a little bomb. This is a big bomb.
It's going to blow a hole in this base, and every time I still have that anticipation of,
are they going? Is he going to go up there and push the bomb? Is he going to go up there and push the button? Is he actually going to do it? And very rarely can you get that, especially on a rewatch of a third time. But I still feel that anticipation and just. Oh no!
Yeah, it was very much a forehead slap when what have you done? Well, I've wired up the bomb. Here you go. And he gives it. It's like, oh my gosh, we're all dead now because he's going to. Is he going to push it now? Is he going to push it 5 minutes from now? Is he going to push it at the end of this? When is he going? This guy could do this at any time, and that's one of the things that so works in the story's favor. And I was not expecting it to work. Keith, you've been really quiet. I've been ramrodding this. I'm sorry.
I've agreed with everything you said. It's just,
which is astounding that we're agreeing.
And it's just one of those. It's also one of those stories that I have a heart. I really enjoyed it throughout the entire time, even when I was confused. And I just, for some reason, have hard times forming thoughts and opinions on it because it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a good story. Yeah. That's all I got. Well, and I walked away from that going. The first part of Peter Davison's run was really strong.
Yeah, when you look at it in order from
Fort of Doomsday and this, and it's like, wow, he had a really good way to start off. But then looking at the list, it falls off with Visitation and Black Orchid.
Spoilers, he's not there for much Castrovalva.
Castrovalva.
You got it right. Well, that's not the one you have trouble with.
And I just walked away from it going, this is one I would probably recommend to somebody who is curious about the Fifth Doctor's era. It's that just good. And I agree with Chrissy that the visualization of the dark places of the mind and these people in this dark area with Tegan looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I had no problem with the snake at the end of it. I thought it looked great for 1982.
It's another one of the visuals of... Here we are trapped in our mind. It was another, oh God, here we go again with this kind of thing. But it wasn't. It was different, and it was done differently, and it shouldn't have worked, but it did. Honestly, I keep going back to that, but that's the thing that I really am having trouble wrapping my brain around is how did this work?
Yeah,
because it's the game plan that the football coach drew up, and you went what? And then he scored the touchdown. It just there's no way this should have worked on paper. And I'd like to meet the author and crawl inside his brain for a little bit because it shouldn't have worked, but it did.
I think that's a real testament to good storytelling is to break out an outline of something and have a beginning point and an end point, and how am I going to get there, and have so many just really high concepts and really kind of connect the dots in that last element of the story and make it really work. And this is one of those stories that does that. When everything kind of starts to fall into place, all of that chaos as you're describing just really kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, we got there. We had to get through that, but we got there. But you still told me a really good story and that had all that high energy, as I said earlier, and kept me engrossed and enthralled so that when I got to the payoff, it works, and it really does.
It truly is a puzzle that if you don't know the image, and in the last 50 pieces, you see it.
Yeah. You talked about the little thing that he gets in, the travel mechanism that he drives in. It's funny to hear you say that about that, because until now it never bothered me. But it was one of those things. It was one of those things, though. Again, relying on the memory of my youth, it was one of those things that was, as a kid, you're like, hey, that's a really cool vehicle. Never mind that it doesn't make sense. It's really cool. You get into this thing, it rolls around. It's basically
it's an exosuit.
It's the exosuit from Alien, which was realized much better, but
it's a power loader.
Yeah, exactly. And so
maybe if we had landed in the base first and because it makes sense that if you don't know if the air is breathable, that you get in the suit and go. So maybe if they had done it that way, where we don't know what the outside's like yet, and they get in one of these things and go, and we later learn it's safe, it would have been a little better.
It was safe, though, up to a point. They commented that the longer you spend exposed, the more you can be affected by stuff.
It also makes me wonder, though, too, is if you're supposed to suppose it's a holdover from the Federation getting there in the first place,
Or wasn't the Federation? The Federation was sneak dance, but the people getting there in the first place.
Just part of regulation.
And that being more utilized in the fact that we don't know what this atmosphere is. We don't know what this terrain is going to be like. So this is kind of our tank that we use.
Yeah.
And then later on, as we come to the point where we're introduced to this story, it's just now just being used as movement. It's like, I'm going to drive this thing across. It's our moon buggy once we decide that the moon is no longer volatile, or now we use it as transportation.
And saying in that matter is, obviously I'm being very, very harsh on the thing.
Yeah,
but
if this is the biggest complaint with the story, really,
it makes so much more sense to think of it in those terms. And again, as a kid, that would have been the coolest thing ever. You get the thing, and you get inside of it, and even Adric can drive it, kind of.
Also, this
even Adric in the story isn't that bad.
Well, this is one of those situations, and I hadn't remembered this until now, but was one of those things that I think I remember. Adric has never been a favorite character of mine. Even when I was a kid, I recognized that he was kind of just useless. Off. But this is one of those stories that I do remember when he sides with Second in Command, and I can't remember the guy's name, and he's going batty, and he actually sort of agrees with him. It is realized that unlike State of Decay, where he sides with the vampires, and then later tries to explain why I was just trying to get in with him, in this one, it is more of he's using his ability to kind of... He's basically he's infiltrating the enemy in order to play spy, or basically double side, in order for the benefit of the Doctor instead of against the Doctor. And I even remember recognizing then that he was doing that for the benefit of trying to help out by infiltrating, by becoming palsy with that guy, so that he later could help the Doctor. And that's conveyed more in this one. And
better
it really
realized than in,
and it really does. Elevate him just slightly.
Well, this is for that artful dodger that we talked about so much. That was the attempt to write him as. This is one of those instances where it's like, oh, I get it. I mean, I see where you're going with this. But I'll be honest, my first reaction is, it's just like the vampires, man. He's going to betray you all over again.
And I would assume that a lot of people that watched this for the first time probably felt the same way. That they went, there's Adric again.
Well, and then he
trying to save his own neck.
But that's what helps the character also, is that you then see that he's not just trying to save his own neck.
I don't know. How much do you not want to be on Team TARDIS? I'm going to side with the crazy guy. You know what? Leave him. Just leave him there. I almost wonder if it could be done. We talked a little bit about the Doctor. I don't remember her name, but the scientist
Dr.
lady,
Todd.
I almost wonder if this could have been given a quick last minute rewrite. As much as to swap out Dr. Todd for Nyssa, you could have given a fairly good chunk of her dialogue to Nyssa from the scientific exposition standpoint.
I think you still had to have lost Dr. Todd.
Yeah, you needed someone on the doctor's side.
You needed somebody within the organization that sympathized with the Doctor.
Because essentially the overall thrust of the story, I don't think would have changed too much, because they still would have wound up in jail together,
right?
And had those kind of exchanges, and they would have been paired up together, which I think would have worked well. But you're right, you would lose that, somebody inside working against them, unless you maybe gave that to Adric. I don't know. Maybe it would have still required a pretty massive rewrite of it. But I just kind of wonder if that would have worked.
How about the little box device that was only supposed to work on the men and make them go into that childlike state that everybody did at some point, except for the Doctor? What'd you think of that?
I was okay with it. He's
you looked in the box?
Not with the fact that it didn't affect the Doctor, because I thought
just the
idea of that box that the old lady and the apprentice had sent with,
There's enough wacky stuff going on that at that point I just sure.
It's still one of those things that always stuck out to me, though, as like a sore thumb when it happens, and I think, I don't know what to think about that box. That there's this box that, the control you could have over men with a box like that. It's insane. Women would have advanced much faster in our society if they just had this box, Just kind of turn men's main brains to mush.
Considering that most of the Kinda that we saw kind of wandered around in a dumb, childlike state anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the wise old woman was the wise old woman, because, she's been passing the box around.
I also like the idea of this race of people or species of people that are connected. They don't speak. That they're connected in such a way that they don't even. It's not even like your typical telepathy where we're talking to each other in our heads. It's like the communication is even more nonverbal than that. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was kind of neat. That's kind of a neat premise to have
a nice take on it.
Yeah, exactly.
To the point where when the prophecy is revealed of the one who does come and speak, that everybody kind of loses it because it's like,
right? Yeah,
the
prophecy's real. Which both of these stories actually have a prophecy element to them.
Yeah.
Any good Doctor Who story should have a prophecy in it. Even if it's silence will fall when the question is asked, there's got to be a good hook there.
I forgot we had a prophecy there too.
Anything else on Kinda?
I don't think so.
Kinda. Sorta.
Should we move on?
Maybe.
Should we kind of move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's kind of move on.
Are you proud of me? I waited till the very end to get that joke. It was a struggle. Especially Friday Night Who. Oh, man. Hashtag kinda.
Snake Dance. The TARDIS makes an unplanned landing on Menusa, where preparations are underway to celebrate the defeat of the Sumerian Empire 5 centuries earlier. But the ancient evil of the Mara lives on, and Tegan, who has been haunted by disturbing dreams ever since her time under the wind chimes on Devaloka, is now a pawn in its plan to re-enter the physical world and subjugate the Menusan people. Only the Doctor can stop the Mara, but first he must convince the authorities that he is not a deluded fool who believes in children's fairy tales.
Dun dun dun! dun.
Sorry, I was a little late. Mine was as enthusiastic, though.
You seemed a little off.
No? I really enjoy this one, too. Very, very solid storytelling, I think. And having Tegan kind of from the get-go. I noticed this maybe more because of some of the big finish. It seems to be a Fifth Doctor's thing where through most of the first episode, the Team TARDIS is doing one thing, and then we're following these other people for no reason. It appears at the time.
That's a good point.
We had that in...
A lot of strange editing is what I kind of chalk it up to. I watch these and I go, why are you cutting back and forth between this? Why couldn't you have given me 5 solid minutes here?
Big Finish,
and then gone here. Yeah,
but I wonder if they do that.
They do that because of this, yeah. And so it starts off with this kind of disjointedness also, but by the end of the first episode, it hits the ground running once Tegan gets into the marketplace and is fully taking over, and then in the Hall of Mirrors and all this great stuff and then her and Lon together. It was just so much enjoyable in this that I don't have, again, not much to say about it because I enjoyed it so much. I think if I'm going to nitpick, the snake on the arm is not as good as it was in in Kinda. I like that design better. But then seeing it become 3D was kind of neat too.
Yeah.
I wonder why they couldn't use a real snake.
Even though it was obviously an inflated snake, I still think the effect for what you've got surrounding it worked really well.
But my complaint with it is more when it was flat beforehand, it looked more like... The other looked kind of like a cool snake tattoo.
Well,
whereas this tried to look like they put a sticker on their arm.
That's what it was. Is before it was actually makeup, it looked like it painted on for Kinda. For Snake Dance, it looked like a sticker that because it was shiny too. Which I think if it didn't have the shiny element to it, I think it would have been a better looking than Kinda. Because I've always noticed that Kinda looks very painted on, whereas this one looks a little more snake-like, like realistic. But then you've got that shine every time the studio lights hit it.
See, I didn't mind the shine. Other than it didn't look like the one from Kinda. I kind of wish that if it had the shine in Kinda, I'd have been fine with it. This because I liked the I liked the shiny snake. I just thought it was kind of cool, but it looked very much like a sticker. So half a dozen one, six of the other.
Yeah. I liked seeing the Doctor so energetic and so frantic in this story. It was kind of refreshing to see the Fifth Doctor this way, since we don't see him like it very often. It's a very nice change of pace. And Nyssa gets some nice things to do, despite that one scream that was unnecessary. Which we said she's better than that.
And shame on you, writers.
We finally got a companion scream, though.
Yeah.
Because everybody but the companions were screaming in this one. For the cliffhangers, anyway.
Which I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Especially when it's Nyssa. I just don't think of her higher than that.
She is not a screamer. It really has to be, for me...
And that wasn't an instance that warranted a scream either.
That's just it. It really for Nyssa to break into that, it's got to be something truly terrifyingly bad is about to happen. And a guy approaching you with a sword is not quite it.
Yeah.
Even you didn't need the scream, period. It was a dramatic enough moment of, we're going to kill you.
It was a Doctor Who cliffhanger. It's simply what it was. Kids are overanalyzing it.
I just like it when they don't always scream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strong, well-rounded characters throughout, I think.
I think...
a lot of back and forth that's really good.
I think that one of the things I like the best is Janet Fielding's performance in this.
Yeah, she does a really good job.
Even though I think some of that voice is dubbed over, she's just very convincing. The lip syncing is perfect. When she is that kind of
when they switch voices.
When she's kind of that mischievous, diabolical, having fun kind of initial thing that we got there at the beginning. She's just she does it so well. And I think that Janet Fielding must be a very, very good actress. I think the problem is you pigeonhole her into this Tegan character that we've all bemoaned Tegan at times. I think overall Tegan's a decent character. Don't get me wrong, I'm not putting Tegan down. But I think she kind of gets pigeonholed because of the type of character that she's playing.
Yeah.
And so to see her to be able to step out in both of these stories and kind of do something a little different, especially in this one, it's really kind of refreshing. And Janet Fielding kind of gets to use her acting chops, basically, and do something a little different.
Absolutely. As I said before, these two stories help me appreciate her character a lot more.
I would agree.
And why she kind of is the way she is and why she's kind of whiny and wanting to leave the TARDIS so much. I totally get it now. And I think I think watching them in order would be a huge benefit for her character arc.
Well, now that
it's more apparent that she...
will allow it now.
Well, except for the first one. Except for how she gets aboard the TARDIS.
Yeah, you can't watch that one
yet. There's a lot more to say for Nyssa's character by seeing how all that comes about than it is really Tegan. But yeah,
well, yeah, I wouldn't know.
You won't appreciate Tegan much in Castrovalva or Logopolis. Logopolis.
But either way, this helps
what's going to be the most
immensely.
awesome thing ever is when we announce the remake of Logopolis starring Benedict Cumberbatch. And Glenn has to say it. I cannot wait for that moment.
Benjamin Cumberbatch
You've already
in
gotten it wrong.
Logopolis.
Logopolis?
I did it on purpose.
Oh, that's not nearly as funny.
I know it's Bernard Cumberbatch.
The production design. This is if we're going to go on production design and talk about Doctor Who. I loved the Bazaar. It was so good. Now, the one big establishing shot, and I thought to myself, "Wow, that's a really impressive set." You remember when we talked about Happiness Patrol and how much we bemoaned the fact that they tried to make that one section of the city look like it was several different streets?
Yes.
This worked.
Yeah.
The way this one was shot. Now, I could still tell that it was one big set and that we recut a lot of the chase especially. It's like, there's that booth again. It didn't matter because it was so well put together.
And it kind of goes into the bizarre trope, too, where you see in a lot of films and things that you see the similar style tints everywhere.
Yeah, I think what helps this one though is the element of color, because all of the tints are very colorful and in a different pattern and sort of way, and you're able to kind of manipulate those colors and change them around so that the tint looks, or the stand looks very much different than the last stand you saw, because the color patterns are quite different. So I think that lends to the visualization of being able to change it up.
See, honestly, I don't even think they went that far with it. I think they built one set, and then we did the overhead shot, and then we would now inside a tent. Sure, that's obviously a different piece of set.
They dressed the tents
when she's paused in front of this tent versus that tent, in my head map, I could visually tell you exactly where each one of those was at, but it didn't matter for the storytelling because it was so well done. And I was picking out on that because, film geek, but, it was really well done. And I love the fact, because this is written by the same guy, right? This is Christopher Bailey, who invented basically the Mara.
Yep.
Okay. One of the things that I thought both about Kinda and Snake Dance was the wonderful use of these other religions and cultures that are very prevalent throughout this. That in Kinda we get a lot of Buddhism and Taoism and those kinds of things. And that in Snake Dance we're in a bazaar, what appears to be an almost Middle Eastern style bazaar with Indian influences, and then the palace guards were almost Japanese with the Asian helmets and things that they had going on. And pirate outfits. That Lon shows up and he's wearing this big flowing thing, and it's like no civilization anywhere developed this way. But okay, just because it was so well done again, it's yet, and he managed to once again. I agree with you. This is a much more straightforward story in the way that it's told, but it's another one that on the surface it shouldn't work. When you really kind of start to dig down at it, despite the fact that it's more straightforward and kind of laid out there. You've got all these desperate elements like, what is with the crazy old man in the desert? And you keep cutting to him, and he's not doing anything. But then he becomes super important later.
I pretty much forgot about him at that point. By the time he comes back, and it's like,
there's the crazy old guy in the desert again.
We kept seeing random shots of him.
This one kind of does the opposite of what Kinda does. Is we start with 3 episodes of structure, and I hesitate to say a 4th episode of chaos. But those
things start falling into chaos.
Exactly. We kind of have that. It's a little more. The storytelling is still good and solid, but it's a little more disjointed because of what's happening. Because the Mara is getting to the point of materialization, and now there's this mystical thing that's happening after after the archaeologist has been denying this all along. It's going to happen. So we almost have an opposite direction of it. But it still works because by the time you get to the chaos, we've had this build up to it, and so it all makes sense when it all kind of comes to the fruition in the last episode. And I'm going to jump to the end. I absolutely love the way that this ends, because we don't end up back in the TARDIS. We don't end up with a quick wrap. We don't end up with everything's fine and we're off to our next adventure. We have the Doctor comforting Tegan after she has just gone through this process of the possession, and it's just some real poignant. I don't even exactly forget what he says, but the real poignant words that he says at the end, and then credits. I thought that was so well done.
Is it gone? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really all you can.
Wow, we're done. Yeah. I mean, this is...
Now, if this had been a Capaldi episode, you would have said, maybe.
Yeah.
I hope you're not still possessed. You want to get back in the TARDIS now?
Depends on if Bailey comes back to write another episode.
I think he should, because these are the only 2 he's written.
This one apparently had a little production hiccups that I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was supposed to have been open-ended for the Mara to make a return, and that they had kind of fully envisioned this to be part 2 of a trilogy, that there would have been another Mara story. And something happened, and I wish now I could remember where I read that. I don't remember if it was online on Wiki or what, but something had happened where they kind of necessitated, we need to wrap this up because production block had run long on something else, and we knew that we had this going into the next story. And there's even apparently a little bit more of the Doctor and Tegan's exchange that was pushed off to, what's the next one? Is it Arc of, or not? No, Arc of Infinity was before this.
Right. Arc of this. Well, Mara. Tegan had just returned for. In fact, Arc of Phineas just precedes
just precedes this one. So what's the one after this one? Do you remember?
I knew you'd ask me.
Whatever the next story is, that there's apparently a little bit more business of the Doctor and Tegan.
No. That's
season. That's the first one. Anyway, there's a little bit of business there to kind of wrap up because they couldn't get to it here, and that they kind of pushed through the
Visitation's next, isn't it?
No, that was
still, after Kingdom.
That's still after. Yeah, gosh, the problem is.
This was from the season where it was the 20th anniversary.
Maudwin, yeah.
That's what it was.
This is Tegan's Turtle's coming next. That's what it was. That's right.
Although Arc of Infinity was produced next.
Well, likely that happened a lot when they were shooting.
But it aired before Days, right? Yeah, okay. So yeah, they pushed part of that off into the other one, and I wish now I could remember the specifics on why. But because of whatever had happened. They killed off the Mara and decided, no, we're done with that. And yeah,
they killed off the idea of the Mara.
Well, they killed off the idea of the
Mara because
we know the Big Finish is found.
Spoilers. We'll be revisiting the Mara once again sometime soon.
The other thing that I thought was really intriguing with this one was again this cast of characters that start off very separate. That we've got the wonderful performance by Sarah Jane's hubby as the. The charlatan, and we've got Lon, who starts off, I totally agree with Chrissy, he starts off in this one direction and winds up somewhere completely different. And this is one of those stories that for every time we get there and we get a classic Who and we think, oh, if only the Doctor had the psychic paper, that this whole bit of business could have been wrapped up so much sooner. This is one of those, when he's dealing with the archaeologist, it's like, if only he could have pulled out psychic paper and just said, oh, I'm from the blah, blah, blah institute, and you need to fix, and it would have fixed all that.
That's the difference between 2 hours of storytelling and 40 minutes of storytelling. But you would have
lost so much good stuff.
Yeah.
And the frog argument wouldn't have been there.
Right. Yeah, so much world building.
And
it's such a well-realized place that they developed throughout the entire thing. And a lot of it is from the archaeologist, helps build this world and makes it so believable.
And then he has his, he's a great character throughout, despite being a foil for the Doctor, and the headdress bit, and just get out, and he's done with him. Until you get to the end, when suddenly he becomes that, oh, now you're back to being a one-dimensional baddie that you want the credit for yourself, and I'm more concerned about this. But it's at this point, I don't care. I'm not faulting that for the story either.
I like the idea that Lon Mara is dangling the stick, dangling the carrot and the stick with the new finds, and it sort of hits home on that. You can almost sympathize for why the guy kind of goes along with
I agree.
Getting the crystal for them and what he's doing because of the idea that this is a new find. I mean, he's basically going through the motions now because they've pretty much explored everything that they could in his mind, and he's constantly having to go to these dinners and things and talk about artifacts that have been around for a long time because clearly his job is come to an end, and so he's trying to keep himself relevant.
He is literally standing on the shoulders of giants because he's at the pinnacle of everything that we know about the civilization, and there's nothing new to do.
So to dangle that carrot in front of him and say, this is that really gives him a motivation to do what he does, and even in his mind and your mind. What the end game for the crystal is. When we know how bad it's going to be, he still doesn't know necessarily.
He doesn't believe it's
knows
real
that
either.
It's a sacred relic. But there's, a trade-off because now we're going to get a lot more stuff to study. We've got a new find. He gets credit for it. So you really kind of sympathize with him, even though he's kind of set up to be that, trope of a bad guy or an adversary.
And had they not shown him the find, if it would have just been a worded promise instead of
it wouldn't have worked. You're right.
It wouldn't have, the story wouldn't be as good.
I don't like the fact that they blindfolded him to take him in there and all that. And I love the assistant kind of dealing with the same Dr. Todd character, that we've got this archaeological assistant who's willing to go maybe just a little bit further outside the boundaries of what's allowed to help out with what he perceives as being real.
And he's so reluctant at first, and then eventually goes over to the Doctor's side. Yeah.
And the world building that goes on there that continues even after we've now broken out of prison and we're rushing to get to the thing, and we still get more about this festival with the you've been touched by the demon, you have to give him a coin. And it's like, this is a wonderful scene. It doesn't make any sense that it's in the in the middle of this, because we should be fleeing the scene of the crime. I don't care. I'm enraptured by what he's able to do with building this different civilization and all this.
I would agree.
Yeah, I would love to see more, not just Mara. And if anything, the Mara, I think, falls down a little bit on this story versus Kinda, because in Kinda, the Mara is such a nebulous concept.
It's better when it's not trying to get a physical form.
And here it's grounded more.
This one's grounded more, and it kind of becomes the villain of the week, where it's just, I'm here to get a body. And it's like, oh, okay, But because there's so much else that's going on.
Great Intelligence's story.
Really. Yeah. It's much better when it's just
nebulous, as you said.
Yeah, with thought and shadow. So that's the one difference between these, where I would probably put Kinda above Snake Dance if I was forced to kind of on the Mara aspect itself. But that's almost made up for by Janet Fielding being the performance.
She makes it
good.
So menacing too.
Yeah.
Well, and structurally, because the story is paced out and told so well too. I think that this story holds together better as a more coherent story.
Yeah.
Because the first one, as you talked about, where it's so chaotic and you really don't know where it's going, and then the payoff makes it worth it. This is one of those ones that's very structured, and you understand what's going on, and they're really building this story. And then we get a little chaotic. That's the wrong word, but we build.
It builds to that frenzy.
Exactly. It builds to the frenzy.
The end of the thing. And again, all of the sub characters that you so many times in Who you get those people that you're like, we're dealing with this guy, and you just don't care because all these people are fascinating. The Queen was a fascinating character.
Mom just keeps showing up at the wrong time.
And in a different outfit, which Chrissy pointed out each time. The wardrobe for this chick alone had to have been what pushed this episode over budget.
It's funny. When I finally noticed her changing outfits so many times, I said, "Oh, and there's the Queen in another outfit," and Chrissy said, "Well, actually, she's been in this one for the whole episode." And I was like, all right, well, obviously the outfit thing wasn't as obvious to me.
And I give up. So, I'm very much looking forward to... we're calling this our Mara Archive because these are two big stories, and we've kind of rambled on at length about them now. And, well, we had a bit of a ramble before. We will be obviously revisiting the Mara at some point down the road, knowing that... spoilers, that she comes back in Big Finish. So
and in a novel.
Well,
so a collection of short stories. I guess.
Did you say
she? Maybe it's because of Tegan, but the Mara for me is female. I think she should be female.
It's cemented in my head that the Mara was a male, A, based on the voice, and B, based on the first visualization we get of the Mara in Kinda as being that trickster guy. Even though you can argue that the pair playing chess was still an element of the Mara, of the essence of the Mara. That's why in my head the Mara was male. If you assigned a sex to it,
I don't know why.
I didn't even assign a sex to it.
It's more it's Gozer. I thought Gozer was a man. That's whatever it wants to be. But just for whatever reason in my head, it's the Mara's a female. I don't know.
I did. One other thing I want to bring up is I did like the use of the funhouse mirrors and the statement that I was trapped in mirrors. Mirrors was the device that trapped me. So almost like do you think that'll hold me now? It's almost like that's the device there.
Yeah. And then the question of he was defeated by mirrors before, and then the explanation.
Right. Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah.
They weren't a circle then. Oh, so if I move all
perfect
these,
circle. Yeah.
Good
kind
stuff.
of like a weeping angel.
Well, Sean, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up next week on the schedule for Friday Night Who, we have Matt Smith in Victory of the Daleks.
Yay!
Two of Glenn's favorite things.
Well, I've never been real down on. There's some absurdity about that story, but
just Matt Smith and Daleks. What more do you want?
Daleks are good.
And then a quick turnaround for us, anyway, to get back into Paul McGann's 8th Doctor story arc. We're going to dive into the Big Finish 8th Doctor adventures with a pair of Dalek stories, Blood of the Daleks and Blood of the Daleks Part 2.
More Daleks! Yay!
So I don't know if we can call that a full-blown archive, but a couple of Dalek stories next week on the program. And if you have not yet listened to those, you still have plenty of time. They are shorter in length. They're about an hour apiece. They truck.
Well, I have my computer back this time, so
they feel a lot more like new Who episodes, at least in the pacing and editing of them, and they're very, very well done.
Well, the BBC took advantage of the idea or the format and took advantage of the fact that New Who by this time had returned to television or was soon returning to television by the time they spun 8 off into his own series, because these were actually on Radio 4, right?
Yeah, BBC 4.
So they were taking advantage of
that.
They were taking advantage of that idea, and I think that's probably why the format probably lent itself to more New Who-ish.
And if there's any Doctor you can easily switch formats, it's 8, since he didn't really have an established one on television.
Although
it's a return to form for him.
Big Finish for years, though, already put a stamp on the format.
That's true.
They didn't have to, but I think they did for that audience that they hoped to draw from the television series.
Yeah, to make it feel more like the rest of the classic era.
And a slight.
We'll obviously talk more about this next week. So.
A slight gaffe on my part from our Friday night, who, as I tweeted out the next week, was the Sensorites.
I wondered about that.
Which it is not.
I did one of those, I guess I better prepare for that one sooner than I thought.
Nope, just me. It wasn't until Keith said, no, it's Victory of the Daleks. And I went, why would we do Victory of the Daleks? And I had to go and look and went, yeah. Because we're getting Paul McGann, silly. It should have been a joyous thing, and for some reason in my head it was like, why aren't we doing the Sensorites? I think I've been trying to get the Sensorites on the schedule for so long, I was champing at the bit to get to it. So it's actually going to be on the schedule the following week. We'll do part 1, 2, 3 because it's a longer one. And then what we are calling Beyond the Doctor. William Hartnell. We're going to be talking about Carry On Sergeant, some things with his a career
outside of Doctor
Who, which I think will be fun. And then we'll finish the Sensorites on the Friday Night Who for the end of January, and then review the Sensorites and Big Finish number 85, Red, which is another 5th Doctor story. So we've kind of spent a lot of time in the 5th Doctor's era here at the beginning of the year, but
it's quite all right. Big Finish had finally started getting the 5th Doctor right.
Well, I think it was due in a way. I think we had taken a vacation from the 5th Doctor for a little too long, so I'm kind of trying to make up for some lost time now. So anyway, this is my January present to Chrissy, dedicating this to her.
Not even her birthday.
And we have a little bit of finagling to do as we enter con season, but I think we have a pretty good handle on where we're going from here, so we will get that posted for you shortly.
You're the only one it affects. For now.
We are all
in March. We'll all be hip deep. But you're the one that happens first.
I have some business that I would like to take care of, if that's all right. Good. Thought so.
Yeah, this is important.
I've mentioned previously for our Patreon supporters, and once again, we thank you very much for that, that if you would like your gift basket, you need to send me your address. And so now I'm going to call a few people out that I do not have. Alex Smith. Whoever Dreamcasting is, that's the actual name on, and I don't know if it's a corporate entity that has decided that we're worthy of a few coin, or if that is somebody's attempt to remain anonymous.
I may have some insight on that.
Okay.
I'll talk to you about that off mic.
And then Lisa. Lisa, I need your address as well. And some of you I may have got from Facebook, so I hope that your information on Facebook is correct. You may want to send it to me in order to make sure that you get. But those are the 3 for sure that I don't have. And one more we need to add is Vincent just pledged. So thank you very much, Vincent, for your contribution to the cause.
Yes, absolutely.
And you are eligible for epic prizes of game show proportions. Not really, but we'd like to get your information sent to us so that we can include you with our welcome basket, which I'm thinking we should maybe cap. I'm thinking we should maybe make this as the indoctrination bit, and you get this wonderful bit. So if you haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet and would like to, now's your opportunity to do so and get this wonderful prize bucket, and then we'll find something else for.
Yeah, I was going to say that means
we're not ending the prizes
for this particular introductory thank you. It's not that you won't get something for pledging, because we want to show our thank you to people in the future that
absolutely,
pledge.
yes.
But we'll have something different, something new. So
yes,
this is exclusive to you. So if you want to get on it now.
Also, I would like to throw out a plug for the Regal Geeks podcast, and Sean and Max have invited me pretty repetitively to come and appear on their show, and I just haven't been able to make the timing work, and I thought maybe this was going to be the week, and you could have headed over to their show and heard my dulcet tones waxing philosophic about all the things I don't remember over there. And
you better hurry, or
instead I came home and fell asleep. I was so exhausted coming home from work, and I felt so bad because I was so hyped, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to come over, and apparently Sean texted me all night long, dude, you coming? And I came home and collapsed in a chair and just passed out. Mel woke me up and went to bed. That was pretty much all I remember from Monday night. So, but if you get the opportunity, the Regal Geeks, they talk Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, and movies, and all of the things that we tend to prattle on about for the first hour of our show. So if you like that, you go check them out.
Explicit material warning.
Material warning on the
Don't
Regal
listen to
Geeks.
that one with your kids.
That was all I had. That clears up my bit of business.
Keith, got anything?
Nope.
That's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
Ribbit. I'm a frog, I think. Maybe.
I'm Keith Ribbit.
Maybe I'm Kermit.
Yay!
Yay! Cheers. Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
I didn't even try to do Kermit's voice. I should have.
And then Sneaky Snake goes dancing, wiggling and a-hissing. Sneaky Snake goes dancing, giggling and a-kissing. I don't like old Sneaky Snake. He laughs too much, you see. When he goes wiggling through the grass, it tickles his underneath.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
He looks just like a stick. Now he doesn't have any arms or legs. You cannot see his ears. And while we are not looking, he's stealing all of our beer. And then Sneaky Snake goes dancing, wiggling and a-hissing. Sneaky Snake goes dancing, a-giggling and a-kissing. I don't like old Sneaky Snake. He laughs too much, you see. When he goes wiggling through the grass, it tickles his underneath.